is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated. The playoff pool is getting clearer, illegal touchings involved, and other shenanigans that we're going to talk about. This is Total Football Talk. Welcome to another edition of Total Football Talk. Hard-hitting, grind, action, news, and fun, just the way you like it. I'm one of the co-hosts of this program, Cole Johnson, a.k.a. the Mad Scientist and EP Extraordinaire. And I am joined, as always, by the other co-host of this program. Okay, so I'm having a hard time thinking about his name. Command Square Report. D. Will in the Evening, which, if you haven't seen it, enjoy season 1. It's all on Sertoba Media. Mr. Sertoba Media himself. Oh yeah, the man that is in charge of the D Willie Bucks, D Willie or Drew Willingham. How you doing, man?
Hey, doing great, brother. Thank you as always for the great intro. And D Will in the Evening season 1 did wrap up a couple weeks back, but there was a New Year's Eve special. It's the unofficial episode, but it is under the D Willie in the Evening banner, as there was shenanigans for the New Year's Eve special the other night. So it's basically just a live video of me talking shenanigans, recapping the year, but also thanking the fans. You can go back and check it out as Topa Media. But hey, it's a new year. It's been a whole year since I've seen you, Cole Johnson.
I know,
as we are
man.
now. Yeah, we just did this last week, but I said I'll see you next year.
Yep.
Now it's a year later. We are back, my man.
Yes, we're back. And I think we are even better than ever. It is wonderful to be back. It's wonderful to be seen. It's wonderful to see you. It's wonderful to see all of you, PSF fam. Of course, the fam here on YouTube and Twitch and X, otherwise known as Twitter. Let's get the opening drive started, shall we?
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Great.
And of course, we get greeted by our brother, Wise El Jefe. Of course, he is my brother from Mentality. He says, "Good morning, my brothers. Good morning to you, my man. I hope everything is well with you."
So, brother.
And of course, Sick, other than what in the all types of blue, he also says, "Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night." And it is great that we are international. We can't be like Rob Bass and GZ Rock. We now are internationally known. Sig Diggy knows us. He comes all the way from Norway. So appreciate you coming in, Sig. Thank you, Wise. And we will get started with Thursday night's game. Where we saw a playoff berth happen for the Cleveland Browns. Actually, it is the third time since their second iteration of the Browns that they've clinched a playoff berth. And that goes back to 1999. They beat the Jets. Poor Ryan McCarthy. They beat the Jets 37-20. Off of Joe Flacco, a decent performance. I won't say it was great, but decent. 19 of 29, 301 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. David Njoku, although Amari Cooper wasn't playing, he was the star receiver, or tight end in this case. 6 receptions, 134 yards. He did have a lost fumble. But on the losing end, Trevor Siemian, 32 of 45, 261 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Gave you 4 carries of 13 yards as well. And Breece Hall doing everything he possibly can, being the workhorse that he is. 13 carries, 84 yards, 9 receptions for 42 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Your thoughts on the Browns clinching a playoff berth at home?
Very happy to see this, especially with Joe Flacco coming off of the couch. And, at 38 years old, coming into play for this Cleveland Browns team that a lot of people had written off. The defense has definitely stepped up throughout this season and kept this team in contention. And in this particular game against the Jets, I mean, the Browns pretty much ran away with it with 4 minutes and 43 seconds left in the first quarter. I mean, through 3.5 quarters of this game, the Browns were winning. I mean, we're decisively winning, because from that point forward, they were up 13-7 and continuously built on their lead to the point to when the game ended, it was 37-20. Trevor Siemian did throw for 261 yards, a touchdown, and interception for the Jets, but Joe Flacco, man, 3 touchdowns before he even threw an interception, because it seems like he's waiting until he gets the good stats and gets a good, comfortable lead, and then he turns the ball over, which is typical Joe Flacco. But the Baltimore Ravens had enough of it, and they had Lamar Jackson, so eventually they had to move on. And then we already know about what Joe Flacco's career has done since that point. But good on the Browns for like you said, the third time since their reiteration of their their reincarnation of their first team, since 1999. Is this the first time that they've made the playoffs since Derek Anderson was there?
No. The last time they made the playoffs, Baker Mayfield was QB.
That's right.
They went on to score, what was it, 34 points in the first quarter against Pittsburgh in the catch-up battle. Yeah.
But Derek Anderson took them the first time.
Was it Derek Anderson?
I think it was. I want to say when it was like 2007, 2008, or it was like the mid 2000s or something like that.
No, it was 2002. But I'm trying to think, was it him?
It was 2002.
Yeah,
it was the Tim Couch era, wasn't it?
That's what I'm saying. It was like 2002 or 2003. It was 2002, 2003. Because they actually played I remember they played in Pittsburgh. They had a big lead. They blew it and lost the game in wild card round. And Greg and on the other end, it was Tommy Maddox that brought them back for the Steelers. But I know Kelly Holcomb started that game.
Wow, that Browns.
I can't remember if it was Couch that started and got injured, or it was Derek Anderson. I do know that Derek Anderson gave him a 10-win season, but they didn't make the playoffs. I do remember that.
Okay, that's what I was. I knew that they had gotten like double-digit wins, but it's funny that when you first start this franchise back over for the second time, you draft someone named Tim Couch, and now you bring someone off the couch, and look at where you're at.
Nice tie-in. Nice tie-in, my friend. Sick asks, how many people are still hungover from Sunday night / Monday morning? Well, thankfully I didn't drink.
Yeah, me neither. I had water.
Yeah, but
some ice cream that night though.
Yeah, that's nice. But I'm sure many were, and I hope you weren't sick. He also says, and the happiest bunch in Cleveland were the Keebler Elves. A toast to Brownie the Elf.
Is that Brownie the Elf or Brawny the Elf?
And they voted to have that thing plastered on midfield for a second year. Thinking you could have the dog, you can have the midfield logo be the head. Never mind. But congratulations to the Browns on making the playoffs. So happy that you're there. We'll see where they will be landing later on in opening drive. But Patriots. No. And they actually had a good showing, but considering this is the Patriots, the team is just bowling shoe ugly. Well, they went to Western New York to play the Bills. They lost 27-21. But the Bills, and we'll talk about them a little later, have just come on strong. Their defense, 3 sacks with Terrell Bernard giving you 2 of those 3 INTs and a fumble recovery. You had Dalton Kincaid, 4 receptions, 87 yards. Josh Allen, the defense did well, but Joshy just wasn't great in the pocket. 15 of 30, 169 yards, and a pick. But he did run the ball for 11 times, 44 yards, and he gave you 2 rushing touchdowns. And Bailey Zappi, who actually had a better stat line than Josh Allen until the picks, 16 of 26, 209 yards. But Bailey, of course, as you heard earlier, turned the ball over thrice. Your thoughts on the Bills going to 10-6?
A a lot of their wins this year, they barely scraped by. And they got lucky to win this game because, yeah, you like you said, they turned it around and they're getting these wins towards the latter part of the season, but they're also doing it against subpar teams.
Right.
So the New England Patriots here, the 3 picks, they also had a fumble as well. That's 4 turnovers in this game that definitely helped the Bills get to the point to where you can now call them a 10-win team. When about 4 to 6 weeks ago, I would not have said they would have been a 10-win team.
I wouldn't
especially with them having to fire their offensive coordinator and everything that had come from that. Josh Allen not playing up to the levels that we had been seeing him play until recently. But he's been really, really patchy throughout this year when it comes to his play. It's been very subpar. So looking at this game, most of the action was in the first half because there was only 2 total scores in the second half. I can't get that excited about this Bills team right now, considering the teams that they're getting these wins on and how they did it. And they're basically going into the playoff situation on one leg, and I just don't have a lot of hope for them. If they make it, they're not getting out the first round.
Yeah. Justin at PSF says his Eagles suck. Well, they don't really suck per se. They hit a slump. But we'll talk about them a little later. Because I have a feeling they're going to end up being featured somehow in this segment. And Y says Happy New Year to everybody in the chat, and Happy New Year to you too, my brother. Victor Locke of Villa K3 or Vicala says good morning to the football talk. Says that is the EP of all EPs. Cole Johnson and the big game hunter of Dunster Pelicans worldwide, the sensei Drew Willingham. I'm gonna have to start calling you that.
Yeah, I love that. We're gonna need a commercial with this. With you, the EP of all the EPs, and the big game hunter of all Dumpster Pelicans worldwide. Yes, I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it.
6 says, unfortunately, I don't drink. Thank you. I'm glad you don't. So I'm glad it's been snowing over there in Norway since Friday. He also says that Josh Allen's going to ruin his knees and ankles in the long run. Have trust in your RBs. The issue that I have with that is they seem to not trust them all that much. And I mean, James Cook ran all over the Cowboys a few weeks back. I mean, you have that as evidence. He says, could it be the case of the Madden curse regarding Josh Allen? Who knows? Who knows? Hopefully it's not. But
I think the only person so far that's escaped the Madden curse is Mahomes.
Yeah, I was thinking
the year that he was on it, he won the Super Bowl.
On Super Bowl, yeah.
Now I think he got banged up the year after.
Yeah,
and they didn't win, but it still trumped the curse. I think he's the only one to do it so far.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, more of the Sunday morning, early afternoon slate. The Bears and the Falcons. All right, so other than it snowing a little bit and the We Want Fields chants were ringing all throughout Soldier Field, the Bears put us all of our misery and just simply dispatched the Falcons 37-17. Justin Fields, who probably had, I would say, probably one of the better, if not his best game of this year, 20 of 32, 268 yards and a touchdown, 11 more carries for 45 yards and a rushing touchdown. The 45 yards that he gained was part of the 192 rushing yard attack for the Bears offense, with Khalil Herbert adding another 124 to that on 18 carries and a touchdown. Also gave you 2 receptions, 5 yards. And along with the 268 in the air, 159 of them went to DJ Moore on 9 receptions and a touchdown. And then there's your boy Taylor Heineke on the other side, 10 of 20. I'm sorry, it was just that bad. 10 of 29, 163 yards, a touchdown, and 3 picks. All right, your thoughts on the Falcons Bears, sir?
After the midway point of the second quarter, this is not a game anymore. As far as the Bears were just running away with this thing, and especially in the second half, it was just score after score after score. and Heineke just the ball when he threw it was like a magnet to the other team. Like it was compelling the ball to come to them. And just seeing this situation right here, the Bears definitely have already locked the number 1 overall pick because they have the Panthers pick.
Right.
So for now, it's to build the momentum for next year. And if they can finish this season 8-9 after this upcoming week, I feel like that's a huge turnaround, and it's a huge momentum boost going into next year, considering the draft stock that they have for next season and the free agents opportunities they're going to have, especially with Montez Sweat. They got it started there with all that. So we'll see how this goes, but 37-17, pretty decisive victory for the Bears.
Yeah, and they've been coming on strong. I mean, they've actually been looking pretty good as of late. And if a receiver could have held that Hail Mary that they threw in Cleveland, we may be talking a different story. But Bears, although they're at 7-9, we can say bye-bye to you. The Falcons, we can pretty much say bye-bye to you, but you still are alive because you are in the dreaded NFC South, which means you still have a shot of winning the crown, which, goodness gracious. Then we get to Indy, where the Colts hosted the Raiders. And this was a game the Colts pretty much controlled, but the Raiders hung in there. Of course, the newly minted Antonio Pierce team have been fighting vigorously to show some fight and some mettle. Unfortunately, they fell 23-20 as Gardner Minshew II. You'll hear another name that will be mentioned about him. I don't know from whom. I don't know what the name is. You should know that sarcasm. 15-23, 224 yards and a touchdown. Pretty good game for him, actually. Jonathan Taylor helped it out on the ground. 21 carries, 96 yards and a touchdown. He added 8 yards on a reception. But on the losing end, Aiden O'Connell, 30 of 47, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, with Devontae Adams having 126 of those 299 yards on 13 receptions and both the touchdowns from O'Connell. Your thoughts on the Colts pretty much putting themselves in prime position to be in the playoffs?
Depending on how this Week 18 matchup goes for them this weekend, it definitely put big stakes on that. But for this game right here, Uncle Rico at home doing what he did, getting this team to 9-7. This team is going to have a winning season after all, Cole Johnson. They are going to have more wins than losses when the season ends, no matter what. Guess what? It was all on the shoulders of Uncle Rico. Uncle Rico comes into the game every single week, ready to play. Now, does he have illustrious numbers every single week? No. But what he does do is he comes out there with that swagger, known as Uncle Rico, and gets the job done to the best of his abilities, and to the point where they are at 9 wins and have a chance, just like your team, to have a chance at double-digit wins for the season. So good on Uncle Rico. This game right here, though, it was pretty close going into the fourth quarter. And then once the Colts got that field goal with 7.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, from that point forward, they did trade some things back and forth as far as some scores. But the Colts didn't look back at that point. They had enough of a lead to where they were coasting throughout the rest of the game. Antonio Pierce has done a great job with his Raiders team. Although they got eliminated from the playoffs this past weekend, he has done far more than what was expected of him since he came in as the interim head coach, and deserves an opportunity to keep that coaching position in this offseason. I hope the Raiders do the right thing by him.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I believe he should be the guy leading the team, and they were so night and day from how he is now. And I just love your nickname of this guy, of Josh McDaniels. How when Josh McDaniels led him, the team just looked horrible. But how Antonio Pierce has led the same group of men, it's like a 9-day difference. Unfortunately, they didn't pull the trigger soon enough because this game eliminated the Raiders. They had a slim chance of having some hopes of grabbing that AFC West ring. And even if that didn't happen, they probably could have had a horrible chance, but slight all the less, similar to the Vikings. We'll talk about them later, of making the playoffs as a wild card. But this was actually a good season for them, considering that they just started the season horrible, and they fought. It's unfortunate, but kudos to Antonio Pierce. I think this is like his childhood team. He now gets to coach them. Hopefully, he will get to coach them permanently. As for the Colts, we'll talk about their fate a little later in another segment as well. And then we get to the Giants. No, you're saying that's kind of harsh, Cole. Wait a minute. No, they actually played well Sunday. They did. They played well in the Meadowlands as the Rams came into town, but unfortunately, a miscue on a 2-point conversion attempt and a missed 54-yard field goal just made them 1 point short. The Rams beat the Giants 26-25 on the strength of Matthew Stafford's 24-34, 317 yards in the air, and a touchdown. Unfortunately, it wasn't a smooth game for him because he threw 2 picks as well. Kyron Williams, who's been actually an up-and-comer and an important cog in the 49ers, in the Rams wheel. I know Playmaker's going to get me for that. 20 carries, 87 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground, 14 yards on 2 receptions in the air. Puka Nacua, who, of course, he went over 1,000, I think, a couple of games back. 5 receptions, 118 yards, 2 carries for 19 yards on the ground. DeMarcus Robinson also gave you 92 yards in the air on 6 receptions. He did have a but the Rams defense, along with Stafford's 300 yards, they came to play. Kobe Turner with 2.5 sacks, Aaron Donald with 2 more of his own. They were part of a 6 sacks barrage from the defense, along with the INT from Tyrod Taylor, who also threw for 319 yards on 27 of 41 attempts and a touchdown. And he had a key 29-yard run, which aided to the 40 yards that he carried on the ground with 6 carries. And Darius Slayton, Mr. Stone, Hands of Stone himself. No, I'm not talking about Roberto Duran. 4 receptions, 106 yards, and a touchdown. Your thoughts on the Rams as they go to 9-7?
Good on Sean McVay to get this team to where he did, because it was not looking pretty at the beginning of this season. And to get to this point right now, definitely big on the Rams. But I do think that this offseason, given the age of Matthew Stafford, it's time that they really start considering they shop for a quarterback. And whether it's the free agent market or you make some moves to climb up in the draft and get somebody, they've got to plan for their future, because it's not going to last much longer with him. No. The fact that you got here speaks volumes, I think, more on the coaching rather than the talent on the field. And I usually don't say that. It's usually 50-50, if not the other way around. Right. But in this case, because of what he's done, very similar with other teams like the Vikings, I would say they're where they're at because of coaching too, because of the amount of quarterback changes they've had there. But with the Rams, I think I have to give a lot of the credit to Sean McVay on this one. We still have 1 week left, but for them to be at 9-7 and to finish the season as strong as they have, it speaks volumes to where their leadership is at this point.
I agree with that, and I sort of jokingly call him the Wunderkind or the Wonder Kid, because he was known as this offensive guru before he became the head coach of the Rams. And to me, I think he's actually earned the title, because the dude, with an aging QB and getting the most out of him to boot. In the beginning of the season, I was saying they need to run the ball more, and then here comes Kyron Williams, and he actually fills the void that I believe this offense lacked for the last few years. And now they're on the doorstep to a playoff berth. We'll talk about that later on in the segment. But as for the Giants, 5-11. This is for you, Wise. But at least 2 of those 5 wins came at the expense of the Commanders. Oh, well.
1-5.
That's a nice slip in right there. That was nice. I like that. The Buccaneers, all they needed to do was win, and they would be NFC South champs. But we're talking about the NFC South. So, of course, an easy road was not going to be made easy. The Buccaneers tanked and lost to the Saints 23-13. Derek Carr had a game, 24-32, 197 yards and 2 touchdowns. Juwan Johnson gave you 90 of those yards on 8 receptions and had one of those 2 touchdowns. On the other side, Baker Mayfield, who got dinged up in the fourth quarter, 22-33, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 2 picks. Trey Palmer, 84 of those 309 yards came his direction on 4 receptions, and he got one of those 2 touchdowns with Baker Mayfield, but he also... Your thoughts on the Buccaneers and the Saints?
All right, Cole, it's time.
Let me talk to you.
Oh, Lord.
It's been weeks since this happened, so let me go ahead and prepare you for it now. We had a sighting of Bunker Stayfield this past weekend. As looking at what Derek Carr did, he had 197 yards, 2 touchdowns. Congratulations. But Bunker Stayfield, how do you throw for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns and lose by 13 points? I know exactly. I mean, lose by 10 points. I know exactly how you did that. You threw 2 interceptions, Bunker. You went out there at home and completely bunkered it up. You gave it to the Saints. Derek Carr looked like a derelict car and went out there and didn't have the greatest game that he could possibly have. And what happened with that? You go out there, you throw 2 interceptions. Rachaad White has 42 yards, and your leading receiver was Trey Palmer, not Mike Evans, with only 84 yards and a touchdown. You went out there and did an absolute terrible job. And you did a terrible job to the point to where you had 2 passing touchdowns and you missed an extra point conversion. It was actually a 2-point conversion because you were trying to get back into the game at that point. But still, you still missed it. Why? Because you went out there and you bunkered it up. And lastly, when it comes to you, Bunker,
Stop it. Get some help.
because you guys are 8-8 right now. You're currently still at the top of the division, but you have to win this weekend in order to keep it that way. And I don't know. With all the hype that's around you, Bunker, you might have completely bunkered yourself out of a continuous stay in Tampa Bay if you do not make it to the playoffs this year.
Oh my gosh. You are incorrigible. I had a feeling you was gonna get hyped and amped. I was like, "Oh, the Bucs lost. Okay, I think I know where this is gonna go when we get to this game," and it went exactly where I thought it was going to go. I mean, as soon as I saw,
Let me talk to
I was like, "Oh Lord, I already know where this is going," but I'm glad it went there. Both teams are 8-8. The Buccaneers still are in control of their destiny. We'll tell you who they play in Week 18 later. As for the Saints, they got to pray. The Bucs have to lose, and the Saints have to win. And we'll say who. Well, we'll talk about who they're going to be playing and who they have to beat later.
Before we go to the next game, can we do something, please, for my sanity?
And that would be.
Can we please give this person a shout out?
All right. Zaki Boy _99. It is good that you on the program, homie. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I'm so sorry. Yes, no problem. So glad that you joined us, and hopefully you can stay on board, my man, because we got more of this coming. Oh, boy. Okay. The Commanders hosted the 49ers. And this is, of course, one of their final 2 games in FedEx Field they get to host. And they get to see 2 of the premier playoff teams in the NFC while doing it. They had no luck with the first one. We'll talk about how much luck they will have with the second one. 27-10 was the final score. Brock Purdy rebounding off of his 4 interception performance Christmas night, 22 of 28, 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. The 49ers offense on the ground gave you 184 yards, with Elijah Mitchell giving you 80 of them on 17 carries and a touchdown. Brandon Ayuk through the air, 114 of those 230 yards went his direction from Purdy's arm, a touchdown off a pretty escape and rollout, and 7 receptions. And Sam Howell, 17 of 28, 169 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Hey, your thoughts on this game between the 49ers and the Commanders, sir?
My main thought right now, being a fan of that team, unfortunately, is you cannot spell Sam Howell without... Here we go again.
Let me talk to you.
This team flat out sucks, Cole Johnson. The Commanders are absolutely this right here. They are the second dumpster pelican right there at the top. It's been a while since I had a ranking system for the dumpster pelicans. But let's bring it back. The second one, the little short nubby one to the left right there. See the tallest one to the right? Yes, back to this. Let's put it on repeat for a second. Let's have this loop around when it comes to dumpster pelican action. Because when you look to the left, the little short nubby one to the left, that is the Commanders team when you watch them go out week after week after week. Because when you look at Sam Howell, it is not looking good for him because all they keep doing is taking the... team hasn't mother-fathering won since week 9, okay? So when you think about how bad that is,
oh no,
they're definitely not going to win this week, but we'll get to our predictions here in a little bit.
Oh, Lord. The Bowling Shoe Ugly reference is brought to you by Sleazy Salons. No mani-pedis, just hands and feet. Done. Oh, my God. Oh, I love the fact you give your Commanders no mercy. Oh, my gosh.
They really need to.
Stop it. Get some help.
Well,
if anybody thinks they're going to the Super Bowl next year,
You should know your role and shut your mouth.
oh, my
I rest
God.
my case.
Oh, and Uncle Nasty's foot powder. Nothing cool about that athlete's foot.
Uncle Nasty.
Only you, Zach. Only you. Only you.
I kind of like that.
Gosh. I do too.
Sick joke.
I think I got my swagger back. Oh.
So the 49ers are now 12-4. They awaited the ending of the Cardinals Eagles game to see if they would actually clinch home field advantage throughout. Of course, we'll tell you if they did later. There was also an event Saturday night that helped out those matters. We'll touch on that later. Oh, did I say touch? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, this will be a legal touch, but anyway. The Carolina Let's see if I could get the Carolina Panthers. I'm gonna try this again. The Carolina Panthers went to yes, it was horrible. Panthers, they went to Jacksonville. They went to Duval to play the Jaguars. I don't know why they even suited up. They got shut out 26-0 as the Jaguars offense ran up and down on them to the tune of 155 yards, with Travis Etienne giving you 102 of them on the ground on 16 carries and 2 touchdowns. Bryce Young, poor fella, 19 of 32, 112 yards on the pick, and that just aided in the wonderful, spectacular, stellar defensive effort that the Jaguars put forth as they gave you 6 sacks along with that INT. Trayvon Walker gave you 2 sacks, and Josh Allen with 3. I forgot which one set the franchise record for most sacks in the season. But congratulations, Josh Allen, the Jaguars variety. Your thoughts on the Jaguars blanking the Panthers?
I mean, looking back on it, when we talked about this game last week, we expected this. You know, maybe not completely blanking them. We probably expected the Panthers to put up a little bit of a fight, but I mean, this is the reason why they're 2-14 at this point in the year. They have not played well at all. No. They are a complete, as you put it in that transition, a dumpster fire, and have a lot of work to do this offseason if they even want to double their wins next year. It's not looking good at all for the Panthers.
No.
The Jaguars, though, they still have a chance to make the playoffs. Very, very big.
Yep.
So, ETN definitely has been helping keeping them in, along with their strong play on their defensive side by Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen. Yeah. But they've got to continuously get that work out of their wide receiving core too. That's a big part of their offense as well. Calvin Ridley was a little quiet considering what they did yesterday. So that's going to be a matchup that I'm looking at this weekend in this next game. Calvin Ridley's going to need to step it up a little bit more if they want to win this division in Week 18.
Yeah, and C.J. Beathard, of course, played instead of Trevor Lawrence, who, of course, has a dinged-up wing, and he pretty much held it down. He didn't really do much that was impressive, but didn't matter. 26 zilch, that's all that matters.
The Carolina Trash Kitties.
Oh yes, and yeah, Ryan McCarthy. He says the Carolina Trash Kitties. Oh, and good morning and happy New Year, fellas. Well, happy New Year to you, brother. You'll be glad to know we already talked about your Jets, so you don't have to deal with that. But happy New Year to you, my man. I hope everything is good with you up in the Albany region. See here.
Trash Kitties.
That is great. I love that. And this is dedicated to the Miami Dolphins performance this past Sunday. Oh, and 6 says, surely the raccoons were promptly evacuated from the dumpster fire. Maybe not in this case because there was a dumpster fire in Baltimore and it did not have to do with Ravens. It was all Dolphins. Oh, well, in this game, it actually was all Ravens. As the Dolphins went to M&T Bank Stadium, hoping to have a shot at the number 1 seed, Baltimore Ravens said, you better take this. And you better like that L. 56-19. That happens to be the most points ever scored by a Ravens team in M&T Bank Stadium. Lamar Jackson, an efficient and pretty stellar and perfect, actually, by QB rating. 18 of 21, 321 yards, 5 touchdowns, along with 6 carries to 35 yards. That pretty much means that that will solidify, I believe, somebody being MVP. Along with that, you had Zay Flowers, who gave you 3 receptions, 106 yards and a touchdown. The Ravens offense with the 35 yards on the ground that Jackson gained. That was 35 of part of 160 of those yards. They gave you 2 on the ground. On the losing end, Tua Tagovailoa, 237 yards on 22 of 38, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. Devon Achane, 14 carries, 107 yards. Raheem Mostert went down, I believe. Bradley Chubb went down. This was a horrible game for the Dolphins. But the offense did gain 154 yards on the ground, which that might be an Achilles heel of the Ravens. But the Dolphins took it on the chin hard. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
So I want to reiterate a couple things because with you saying that the Dolphins had a horrible game for the standards of what the Dolphins have set for the entirety of this season, yes, that's one. Okay. But for the overall average of the league, the Dolphins didn't have as bad of a game as you basically just said that they did. Because when you look at the overall overview of this game, the numbers for both teams are pretty similar. Okay. Except for a couple things. The interceptions thrown and the 2 interceptions and the 1 fumble that they lost were what really sealed it.
Turnovers. Yeah. This is
Okay.
turnovers.
Had those 3 things not happened, this would have been a lot closer of a game than what we thought, because besides the average yards game per play, the time of possession was pretty close. The penalties, the Ravens actually had more penalties than the Dolphins. But the separation is definitely the 2 interceptions that were thrown and the fumbles, because Tua throwing those 2 interceptions definitely happened at the wrong times. The other thing that was big, too, was their third down conversions with the efficiency was 6 of 15 for the Dolphins. They also went for it on 4th down way too many times. They went for it on 4th down 4 times and only converted 2 of those 4. So to me, when I look at that, the first downs were pretty close. Their rushing yards were pretty close. Passing yards, Lamar Jackson did throw for a little over 100 yards more than Tua. But looking at this, the biggest things here were the turnovers, but also boneheaded mistakes in play calling. McDaniel needs to not be going for it on 4th down as much. They are not that good of a team to be going on 4th down. If this was the first half of the year, the way they were playing and the way they were clicking on all cylinders, I'd give it to you. I'd say go for it. But now, this part of the year, the end, when rankings and seedings and all that makes more of a difference now than it did a half a season ago, I think you need to tighten that up a little bit going into the playoffs and getting ready to make a run, because I don't think the Dolphins, they've cooled off too much over this past month. I don't think they're going to be able to make as much of a run as I thought. We were talking about this a month ago, and we had the Dolphins up there as a team that's a pretty dangerous team going into the playoffs. I don't think that anymore now going into Week 18.
And we will talk about them and their fate in the featured attractions portion. But this L that the Ravens handed the Dolphins, 37-point L by all accounts, that made the Ravens the number 1 seed throughout the AFC. So the road to the Super Bowl through the American Football Conference has to go through Baltimore. And the way they've been rolling this past month, that might be a hard chore for any other team to come in and actually pull off the divisional round and the championship game. And of course, they have the bye in the wildcard round. Ryan says, only 1 more week of torture. I mean, the 2023 New York Jets season. Just beat the Pats or tank for a better draft position. I don't care. JETS, just end the season.
What?
You want to sit here on this platform, Ryan McCoffey, and cry about your team? Your team is not as bad as the commies. So with that being said, we gotta pause that. Happy New Year, brother.
They probably love those L's the same way Swedes love licorice. That's just nasty and wrong on my part for saying that. Yeah, and I think that the Dolphins. I think this was a little nasty in their mouths.
He said, in their mouths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I did. 6 did say, well, the playoffs is a completely different animal. Yes, it is. It totally is, Lord. It totally is. It says, yeah, it doesn't matter who the number 1 seeds are, which is true. But still,
I mean, when it comes to having that week off and getting your team the rest, it does. Performance-wise, no. But, I mean, when you got players that are banged up from, like Tyreek Hill, been a little banged up. I mean, that week off, having the number 1 seed would have been nice, but they couldn't keep it together.
Nope. And instead of playing for the number 1 seed this weekend, they're, well, we'll talk about their fate later on in the program. And now we get to my favorite part of the program, the Houston Texans. They beat down and destroy the Oiler Fakers. The Tennessee Titans. Oh my, I love this. 26-3. Oh, I'm enjoying this so much. CJ Stroud came back from sitting from a concussion for 2 weeks. 24 of 32, 213 yards and a touchdown. Devin Singletary gave you 16 carries for 80 yards on the ground. And speaking of 80 yards, that's what Nico Collins caught on 7 receptions. Ryan Tannehill in place of an injured Will Levis as he got sacked and did a 16 of 20, 168 yards. Pretty good game, but he got put down on turf 5 times as the defense of the Texans put Titans QBs on the ground 6 times. Will Anderson with 2 sacks, Derek Barnett with 1.5. Read the screen, suckers. You're not the Oilers, you're the Titans. Oiler Faker, mother. In fact, you clowns need to take yet another. And as for you claiming that you are Oilers,
We gotta pause that.
all right, your thoughts on the Texans beating down and beating up the Titans 26-3, upping their record to 9-7.
Before I answer that, for those of you feeling some type of way about what Cole just said,
You can't handle the truth.
because that was spot on.
Thank you, sir.
When it comes to this team right here, the Houston Texans, man, who would have thought? Looking back at the beginning of the season, you and I are talking about it at the beginning of this. When we first started episode 1, we just wanted them to survive the season. For one, we wanted CJ Stroud to grow, learn from the experiences, and start off the sophomore year just fine. Okay. Basically, looking back on it now. When you look at how things have, transitioned throughout this season, it's definitely been an awesome thing to watch. The fact that you got a chance to, you're already going to finish with a winning record for the Houston Texans. Right. And you got a chance to finish with double-digit wins, and you do what you do against who you dubbed as the Oiler Fakers because they want to bring back those old-school jerseys. I thought it was an awesome thing to watch. I think the funniest thing that the highlight of the Tennessee Titans day was a 53-yard field goal by Nick Folk. Yep. Other than that, he pretty much got blanked the entire day. You got blanked in the second half. Looking at this game right here, you got a really, really good promising future with CJ Stroud, and he only had to throw for 213 yards and get the ball in the end zone 1 time in order to make this happen. Because he didn't do much on the running ground, but Devin Singletary, as we've thrown shade at him over the years for what his progression has been. This year for the Texans, he's definitely showed up. I always had to give him that. Between that and you got Nico Collins, who definitely contributed as well. The Texans can be a dangerous team in the years to come. I don't think that they're going to be that make too much noise in the playoffs this year.
I agree.
But the fact that we're even talking about them going into Week 18 with the potential opportunity to make the playoffs, very huge. Depends on what Jacksonville does, and we'll get to that more later into the show. But whether you make the playoffs or you don't, you still have a winning record, which is something that the commies are dying for over there in Washington, D.C. So when you think about that, the Houston Texans, definitely huge turnaround. D'Amico Ryans, in my opinion, should be in the running for Coach of the Year, or at least in the talks for it, in the top 3 of it, because the man's done something special over there with Houston. I know you got to give a lot of the weight on the shoulders of the kid, CJ Stroud, but there's a lot of other good pieces around him that are helping him get to this point, and the coaching is part of it.
Yeah. I know he won't win Coach of the Year, but he definitely is deserving of it. And look, I could tell you that the Texans was going to be at any point in the season that I think they were actually going to be over 500. I most certainly didn't think they would be at 9 wins. I definitely most certainly didn't think they'd be at 9 wins before week 18. And later on, I will definitely tell you the biggest I did not see coming moment. But I mean, come on. Sorry. Let me go here. 6 says, talk about a bittersweet victory. Light on the bitter, heavy on the sweet. Well, that's true. Victor, he says, the war between Cole Johnson and the fake Oilers, a.k.a. Tennessee Titans. You doggone right. Or Foilers, as Ryan McCarthy, who has dubbed the Carolina Panthers the trash kitties. Love that.
I think we should call them the Soilers as they keep taking a dump.
I don't mind that either. 6 says the Oilers' legacy belongs to the city of Houston, but the Texans have created an identity all their own. The same can't be said for the Titans. Well, they've created it with the Titans, and yeah, and deservedly so. You know, Titans, that's Nashville. Oilers is Houston. Always has been, is now, always will be. Ryan says, regardless of whether or not the Texans make the playoffs, D'Amico Ryan should get Coach of the Year consideration. He'll get consideration. He will definitely get consideration. But Dan Campbell's going to win the award, and I have no problem with that.
And deservingly so.
So. I have no issue, no problem with that. But yeah, he'll get consideration. He definitely will.
Your time will come, though, D'Amico Ryan.
Yeah.
But if you keep doing what you did this year, you're going to get it. You're going to get it, my man.
This time definitely is coming. He's pulling 9 wins in his rookie head coaching year. Yeah. COY is coming. It may not be this year, but it's coming soon. All right, to the late game shot. And the Steelers, they hopefully tried to give them a shot of making the playoffs, and they did just that. They went to Seattle and they crushed the Seahawks' hopes, although the Seahawks still can make the playoffs. But they crushed the Seahawks, giving it a mighty blow to the tune of 30-23. 8 thumbs. Oh, I'm sorry. Mason Rudolph. Reason why I call him 8 thumbs is because in a Hall of Fame game, he just coughed up the ball often. And so I said to my then manager, who is a huge Steelers fan, I said, well, credit Micah Parsons for exposing Mason Rudolph from having 4 thumbs on each hand. So Mr. 8 thumbs gave you 18-24 of 274 yards through the air, and thankfully nobody took off their helmets to try to hit him. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get off my soapbox about him. Najee Harris, nice sighting for him. 27 carries, 122 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That 122 yards on the ground was part of a Steelers attack on the ground, which gave them 202 on the ground. George Pickens, who has actually decided to be a little more mature, which I'm happy to see. 7 receptions, 131 yards. On the losing end, Geno Smith, 23 of 33, 290 yards and a touchdown, and DK Metcalf gave you 106 of those 90 yards, 106 of those 290 yards through the air on 5 receptions. Your thoughts on the Seahawks losing to the Steelers?
A song comes to mind when it comes to the tales of woe for the Seahawks. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier someday. Yeah, that song pops up in my head when it comes to the Seahawks right here because of how bad the situation panned out against the Steelers team. We've been talking about the Steelers team and the culture within the team and how things have fallen apart throughout different points of this year, right? But the Seahawks team, it didn't get easy enough for them to stop the Steelers team because you just gave Mike Tomlin another winning season. He has not had a losing season in the amount of times
of them.
Exactly. And the amount of times that we have heard over the years through different points in the seasons about Mike Tomlin's going to get fired. Mike Tomlin's going to get out of there. They're going to make the move. Well, it doesn't look like they're going to make the move again, because if you do, you're going to be a stupid organization for doing it, because he's going to go somewhere else and continue to have that success. Mike Tomlin is definitely proven that he's a Hall of Fame coach.
Oh, no question. You get no complaints from me on that.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame coach, first induction coach, and I said what I said about McVay earlier, but Mike Tomlin is a big part of when that culture was falling apart because of the moves with Ben leaving and all that stuff and retiring, and you got Kenny Pickett, one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen, and then it's Tomlin that's kept the glue together. And then we got Ucha playing over there for the Seahawks, because we had the Seahawks, 4 to 6 weeks ago, the hype, Geno Smith bringing them back. They were going to be another team going to the playoffs making noise, and now look at them. They are another team that is falling to the 8-8 wayside. But when it comes to the ranking system, I would have to say, when it comes to my ranking system, I'd have to have the Seahawks as the 8th dumpster pelican in the back over there, standing on top of that Winn-Dixie bag, probably a can of tuna off to the right. They are the 8-1 with that song.
When your head is much lighter, someday we'll walk on the rays of the beautiful sun. Someday when the world is much brighter.
All I gotta say with another great song is
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, no, to the no, no.
Well done, my friend. Well done. Oh my gosh. So the Seahawks fall to 8-8, and they make a pathway for another 8-8 team. We'll talk about that a little later. The Steelers are 9-7, and they still have a shot at making the playoffs. And they probably bogarted someone else in making a shot to the playoffs, but I think it also was due to another team, but we'll talk about them in a couple of minutes. The Denver Broncos, they hosted their last game of the 2023 season as they hosted the Chargers, and they bored all of Denver to a 16-9 victory. Yes, the game was simply
that's a lot better than pulling out Whitney Houston, simply the best.
Well, actually, that's Tina Turner. But
damn it, I was wrong. But still, simply. I was driving down the road the other day, and it was when we had a warm day, and there was some old person in a convertible, probably 70 years old, blaring that song. I thought it was Whitney Houston, but yeah, Tina Turner. You're right. I was wrong.
No, that's okay.
I was feeling it the other day though. That song.
Oh God, that's a good song. Jarrett Stidham. Yes. You heard me correct. Not Russell Wilson, because he got sat down because he's going to cost the team too much money. Bad performance issues. Jarrett Stidham was in place of Russell Wilson, 20 of 32, 224 yards, a touchdown. He gave you 6 carries for 6 yards. Not bad. A carry for a yard for every carry. I like that. Good job. On the other side, Easton Stick, who, of course, is subbing for an injured Justin Herbert, who's out for the year with a dinged-up finger on the throwing hand. 24, 38, 220 yards. He also carried the ball 4 times for 31. And Alex Erickson gave you 98 yards to the air on 7 carries. For the game that basically is bowling shoe ugly all the way around, what are your thoughts about it?
Well, when it comes to this situation right here, the Denver Bounties. Oh, wait, no, that's the New Orleans Saints. When it comes to this team right here with the Sean Payton-led non-bounties. For this team right here, I'd have to say Jarrett Stidham did okay. He didn't really make many mistakes back there. He definitely was quiet overall for this game, considering the fact that you had Russell Wilson on the sideline. The stat line that he had, I think that with the Russell Wilson-led offense, this Broncos team would have made a little bit more noise, and it would have been a little bit more of a comfortable lead. But at the same time, I understand why they don't have him out there, because if he gets hurt, you owe him way too much money, and you can't really make the right marketing moves that you would be able to make this offseason to get him out of there and get something in return if he was hurt. So go ahead and finish the season strong. The funny thing is that they still have a chance to finish with a winning record, considering how bad they started this season and how bad they were last year. It does speak volumes to the coaching style of Sean Payton, but when it comes to this Chargers team, they suck. They absolutely suck, just like the commies do. And they're going to have to make some moves at the head coaching position, along with many other positions for this team in this offseason, if they want to get back to relevance like they were in years past.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully they can straighten them and fly right, so to speak. Ryan McCarthy, who is of no credentials acquired fame, Tonight Show, he and his co-host Dustin Henry, Dustin Henry basically is a dyed in the wool Seahawks fan. He says Dustin's going to have something to say about the Seahawks defense or lack of run stopping there is on tonight's show. Remember, they gave a 202 rushing yards to the Steelers this past Sunday. He says, get ready for the whirlwind. And I can only imagine how pained he will be, considering that the Seahawks had their season in their grasp, but they could have made the playoffs, just stay in the course, and now their road may be a little bit tougher. The Steelers, their road is still tough, but hey, celebrate 9 wins. As for the Broncos, you get what you get, and hopefully the NFL comes down on you, suckers.
The 6 said my version was the Papa Roach version. Got my life in 2 pieces. No, that's not how I sing. Who child sing? But when it comes to music, before we get too far, when it comes to Whitney Houston,
Delete!
Tina Turner,
Acknowledge me.
I apologize.
So you're saying that was a Papa Roach version, not this 5 Stairs Child version of Ooh Child? Okay. Stair Steps, I mean. Gotcha. Okay, goodness gracious. All right. To hair ahead, as the Chiefs were hoping that they could grab onto that brass ring that they have held on for the last 7 consecutive years. They met up against their most current arch rival, the Bengals. They did the deed. 25-17, they became the AFC West champs, and they eliminated the Bengals for the 2nd consecutive year from playoff competition. This time, the Bengals won't even get there. Patrick Mahomes, 21-29 for 225 yards, a touchdown, and Isaiah Pacheco, best rushing effort this year thus far from him. 18 carries, 130 yards on the ground, 7 receptions, and 35 yards to the air with a receiving touchdown. Rashee Rice found his hands, 127 yards to the air on 5 receptions. And the Chiefs defense, poor Jake Browning. They put Jake Browning to the turf 6 times, with George Karlaftis with 1.5 of those 6 sacks. Browning on the losing end, 19-33, 197 yards, and a touchdown again. He suffered 6 sacks in the game. Your thoughts on the Chiefs winning the AFC West for the 8th consecutive year?
It was destined to happen, considering the fact that the Bengals didn't score at all in the second half of that game. That's downright atrocious, and you're not going to win any game by not scoring at all in 1.5. So the Chiefs, I would say there was a couple situations in that game where, if you look at the Chiefs of years past, when Patrick Mahomes was early on, they would go for it on 4th down a lot because they didn't trust their defense.
Right.
Now their defense is a lot stronger to where once it's fourth down and they're
Good
within field goal range, they're kicking the field goal and they're trusting their defense, which was definitely really good to see. Now, what's transitioned from the two different teams that they've had is they've got where your team that you had before, where you were more offensive strength, you were stronger on offense, but your defense wasn't as strong. Now that you've swapped it, your offensive line is not as strong as it once was. So Mahomes is running around back there. I don't think that they're having the issues that they're having based on the wide receiver core. I think they got to make some moves with that offensive line this year in the offseason, because Rashee Rice is second in the league to Tyreek Hill when it comes to overall production at the wide receiver position. So they've got their Tyreek Hill in the making as far as their replacement or something that can be just as good as him, but they need more pieces on that offensive line than anywhere else.
I think I agree with you to a degree. I disagree with you to a degree too. Yeah, I agree. That offensive line is not like it was in 2019, 2020. Not even close. Not even close. They have suffered some injury, and they've of course suffered some free agent rating. So yeah, that offensive line is not the same. And yes, we're seeing Patrick Mahomes run for his life in the pocket far more often. And I 100% agree with you on your point of the Chiefs 4 years ago didn't trust their offense. They probably didn't trust their offense 3 and slightly even 2 years ago. But now, yes, the defense is the strong suit of the team, and the offense, because of that line, and I really do believe because of the wide receiver core, because you simply cannot ignore the fact they have the most drops in the league. It's a problem, especially when you have a quarterback with a golden arm like a Patrick Mahomes. And with many of these teams, they can solve their issues by bracketing coverage on Travis Kelce. But yeah, Rashee Rice, I think we actually said this in this program a few weeks back. I was like, I think he probably would be the key to actually unraveling defenses and just heavily trying to guard Kelce. So yeah, I agree with you with Rashee Rice. They need more than him, and I think that's an issue. And hopefully Travis Kelce doesn't have to carry all of the load. But congratulations to the Chiefs. They are now 10-6. They are ensconced in the 3 seed. They won't be advancing up. They can't go back. And hopefully they can have a favorable first round opponent in the wild card round. We shall see. Do you really have to do this? The Sunday night game. In fact, it deserves this treatment when I go through this. The Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings. This was almost a loser gets eliminated game, although neither one would get eliminated if they lost. But their chances of making to the playoffs is going to be extremely slim. And that's the case of the Vikings as they took it on the chin at home to the Packers 33-10. The game wasn't even that close. Jordan Love, 24-33, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns. Gave you 2 yards on 2 carries with a rushing touchdown. The offense of the Packers gave you 177 yards on the ground, with Aaron Jones giving you 120 of them on the ground on 20 carries. He also gave you a reception for 10 yards. Bo Melton, another first or second or third year receiver that the Packers are littered with. 6 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown. And Jaden Reed, another one of those first or second or third year wide receivers, 6 receptions, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Packers defense put Jared Hall and Nick Mullins to the turf 4 different times, with the Vikings offense giving you 144 passing yards. And yes, the dumpster Pelicans that you keep seeing, it is dedicated to the Minnesota Vikings. Your thoughts, sir?
This Minnesota Vikings team, gone through the amount of quarterbacks they've had this year, the tales of woes they've had. The crazy thing is they still have a 3% chance of making playoffs.
That's the crazy part.
I'm saying that with as straight of a face as I possibly can. But when you look at that, you think about that, considering that they are where they're at now, I said it earlier when it came to that. It speaks volumes of the coaching of where they're at. Even with the guy losing record 7-9, and they're going to finish with a losing record regardless of what happens this weekend. Yes. Kevin O'Connell, considering how early Kirk Cousins went down, has done a really good job of keeping this team in the hunt for the playoffs ever since. Even in Week 18, regardless of the fact that you've only got a 3% chance, you still have a small chance of making the playoffs. When the majority of those teams that were in the hunt for it, considering the fact that we had 3/4 of the league still available to make the playoffs going into this past weekend. And after that weekend, you still have a chance. Speaks volumes on the coaching. Now, is it a great game they played in this past week? No. It was a division game, and they would have had a higher chance of making the playoffs had they got the win. But you gave it to the Packers. The Packers now have a really good chance of making the playoffs, as they've moved up to a 60% chance of making the playoffs with an 8-8 record and that division win. So good on the Packers, especially good on Jordan Love. I really like that one play that I saw Jordan Love where he was diving into the end zone and had that rushing touchdown going head first into there. You saw some true grit from him in certain ways, in certain mannerisms. You could see a little bit of Aaron Rodgers in him and how he like sidearm slings the passes in certain windows to get those completions. It just like Aaron Rodgers did, well, sitting a couple of years behind Brett Favre, even though Brett Favre didn't like volunteer the information to him like Aaron Rodgers did to Jordan Love. Sitting behind Brett Favre helped mold the next generation of quarterback for what Aaron Rodgers was for years, and that might have just done the same thing for Jordan Love. Green Bay has been spoiled with 3 straight decades now of great quarterback play. Your first year with Jordan Love isn't too bad either. He's had some growing pains, but you're at least at 8-8 at this point, and it's looking very promising for your future. You could have a good 4.5 decades of good football out of your quarterback play going into the future. And then depending on who you draft before he gets out of there, you could build for even a longer future. So there's not many teams that have had this much consistent play out of their quarterback for over 3 decades, and now more, potential of more of that going forward.
That's crazy to think, but yeah, I agree. And it looks like the Packers are in good hands with Love, and it looks like that was a good pickup for them. Such a good pickup for them in his first full year as a starter. All they need to do is win, and they're in. So they're in position to win, and they have to thank the Pittsburgh Steelers for that, because the Seahawks loss paved the way for the Packers to do what they have to do. And we'll talk about who they have to beat later on. And now, Cool McCain's favorite part of the show. The upset of the week. Was it even any guess as to what game was going to be featured in this slot? The Philadelphia Eagles had a 21-7 lead over the Arizona Cardinals, and then they choked it away. They lost to the Cardinals 35-31 due to the strength, or I should say due to the weakness of the Eagles defensive front, as they gave up 228 rushing yards to the Cardinals. That's right, 228. 128 of those yards came over the legs and feet of one James Conner on 26 carries, his former Steeler, on 26 carries and a touchdown. He also had a receiving touchdown off of a 5-yard pass. Kyler Murray, Mr. Call of Duty man himself, efficient, 25 of 31, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have a pick. He did only run for 24 yards, though, on 5 carries. On the ground, Greg Dortch was the hot man for the Cardinals, 82 yards on 7 receptions. Jalen Hurts You could say he had an efficient game too, but it just was not good enough. 18 and 23, 167 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception, and 8 carries on the ground for 25 yards. Unfortunately, Philly fan, no tush push touchdowns. Your thoughts on easily the upset of the week in week 17?
So, Eagles fans, throughout the month of December,
Oh gosh,
you went 1-5. I mean 1-4. My apologies. You went 1-4. So basically, all you did was take the. Hey, don't get mad at me. I'm not the one steering the ship to this point. Now, looking at this team right here, looking at the hype that we had on this team throughout this season, you're going to go 1-4 during December. When you came into December
and 1
at 10-1, you were
10-1.
10-1 coming into December. You had all the hype that you had on yourselves. Then December 3rd comes around and you host the 49ers, and from that moment, you haven't recovered. The 49ers have ran their mouths way too much over the past few years, but at least I will give them this. Over the past month, they've earned a little bit of that.
Well, yeah, they did.
I will give them that a little bit. I will give them more because the Eagles fans have been running their mouths way too much since they won that Super Bowl in years past. And then you had what you had happen last year, and that was a pass interference call in the end zone, and we should have won that game, and all that crying that we heard from Eagles fans. Well, it doesn't make a difference now because now you're the laughing stock of the NFL. You went from being at the top of the NFL to now you're a wild card spot. After December, going 1-4, if you're an Eagles player, Eagles personnel, or an Eagles fan, you should be ashamed of yourself because you're very close to Washington comedy status. Very, very close to comedy status by saying this.
Stop it. Get some help.
And that's what I have to say about you, Philadelphia Eagles.
A Commanders fan just enjoying far too much the struggles of the Eagles. Lord.
You know they're enjoying our struggles.
Well, that's true. They are, but still. Oh, my gosh. Six says the upset of the week is brought to you by Sleazy Meaty Subs. Don't beat the meat. Don't toss the salad. Just enjoy the subs. And Guzzle Hard Thirst Quencher. When you got a quench, guzzle hard. You and your doggone commercial sick. Goodness gracious. But yes, knowing on top of the Cardinals, the Eagles, they fell to 11-5. They came into the game in the number 2 seed slot. They fall to the number 5 slot because of the following game we're going to talk about here. And yes, it is not only the lone Saturday game, it also is the game of the week. It comes from Jerry World as Jimmy Johnson got honored in the Cowboys Ring of Honor. The Cowboys hosted the Lions. Many have said that the Lions got hosed. Many said the Cowboys escaped. Regardless, the Cowboys were on the right side of the scoreboard, beating the 11-4, now 11-5 Detroit Lions 20-19. Dak Prescott threw for 340 yards on 26-38 passing, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He also gave you 2 carries for 5 yards. CeeDee Lamb had a spectacular game, 13 receptions, 227 yards, a touchdown, but he did have about a yard or so before he crossed the goal line. Otherwise, it would have been 2 touchdowns he would have had. On the losing end, and I hate to say losing end because they really fought valiantly and hard, Aiden Hutchinson gave you 3 sacks on the day. Jared Goff, not the greatest of games, but not a bad one. 19 of 34, 271 yards, a touchdown. Where it was bad, he turned the ball over 3 times for 3 picks. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 receptions, 90 yards. Had the touchdown that, in my estimation, could have given them the lead if other things really would have happened, but didn't. But I digress. Sam Laporta, who replaced, of course, Mr. Hawkinson for tight end, 8 receptions, 84 yards. I could go on about what I really would like Dan Campbell to have done in this game and putting his team in the position that he shouldn't have put in, but I won't say that. I will reserve judgment for later. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
You can reserve it, but I will not. That was absolutely stupid by Man Campbell. You normally biting off kneecaps, and you have the opportunity to go into overtime, but yet you have 3 opportunities to have an extra point, and you went for 2 all 3 times. And after the second time, common sense would tell me, like, maybe we should just kick the field goal, go into overtime, and see what our chances are. However, you didn't, and it looked like you called the same play twice within those 3 play renditions, and that's what got you to that point. But you also can't take away from what the Cowboys had done up until that point when the Lions had been making that comeback, because CeeDee Lamb's production was video game in that game, especially that one huge reception that he had, the one that either tied or broke Michael Irvin's record. I want to, it was like a 92-yard touchdown or something like that. So, something stupid like that.
It was 92, yeah.
But looking at that, his production this year, what Dak has done, and has grown and elevated himself at that quarterback position. Even though I want to throw shade on him because they are the Cowboys, I have to give credit where it's due, and especially being a true analyst of football. The Cowboys are a dangerous team right now in the NFC. Are they as dangerous as the 49ers? I don't believe so. I think if we get that matchup again, the 49ers are going to win. The 49ers, in my opinion, are going to go to the Super Bowl, but we'll get more into that later. But besides that, you can't take away from the season the Cowboys have had. They've done a really good job to getting up to this point, especially taking over the division from the Eagles, who, again, a month ago, if it wasn't for that 1-4 December, they would be sitting pretty good, them being the Eagles at the top of not only the division, but the league. They gave up everything within the past few weeks because of their slumps that they've had. So looking at this Cowboys team, good on them for what they did, the production that they had in this game. A lot of it fell on the shoulders of Dak and CeeDee Lamb as far as the production goes on that side. But when it comes to the way that the game ended, the Lions had a chance to take the game away and at least tie it up to have a chance going into overtime. But looking at what the Cowboys had done between those 2 pieces, I'm pretty sure that Dan Campbell didn't want to take a chance of one deep play to CeeDee Lamb again and, a 1 touchdown score, OT's over. So that's probably what he was thinking. If the Cowboys get the ball, they go deep to CeeDee Lamb and he gets over 300 yards receiving, they're going to win the game.
Yeah. My issue, along with, yes, he should have kicked the extra point, I think, after the 2-point conversions didn't go, or one was successfully executed, yet there was a penalty on the play, and that, of course, was controversial. In the first half, you were within the Cowboys 5. You had a chance to kick a field goal. You decided to pull a Mike McDaniel move and go for it, and don't get the points. If you kick that field goal, when Amon-Ra St. Brown scored that touchdown, guess what the score would have been? 22-20, Lions. But you try to live by the sword, die by the sword. Credit to you, but I think he went a little too hard on the aggression. Both teams are 11-5. Unfortunately, though, now the Lions are just like the Chiefs. They are the number 3 seed in the NFC, and they can't go down, they can't go up. As for the Cowboys, they're now the number 2 seed, and all they got to do is win a game. I don't know who they play, but I will talk about that later. Of course, they win Sunday. I think, they win Sunday. They will be the number 2 seed in the NFC, which means it guarantees 2 home games for them if they go that far. and it might mean they make it to the NFC Championship game for the first time in 28 years. But we'll discuss that a little later. That is the game of the week for week 17 of the 2023 season. And of course, that means it is the end of opening drive. Stay tuned for the rest of the show. We'll be right back right after this.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Break!
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pistol 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Peckham's. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube.
Tiny Tim!
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying. But this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Bobby J and Wise El Jefe, Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk. Cole will be joining us again here shortly. But while we wait on him to come back, let's go ahead and take this into the Gridiron Scoop, talk a little bit more football. So here with the Gridiron Scoop, we've got some great things to talk about. And the first one we have to say is, the 49ers beating the Commanders, they get help to clinch the NFC's #1 seed. But what team can slow down the 49ers in the playoffs? When it comes to the NFC, my opinion is I don't think that anyone in the NFC is going to be able to slow them down. I think the 49ers are going to make it to the Super Bowl. Depending on how the things go for the AFC and that side of the playoffs will depend on if they can be slowed down in the Super Bowl, that being the 49ers. I think that the two teams that have a really good shot of making the Super Bowl for the AFC and actually slowing down the 49ers are actually within the same division. That being the Ravens and the Browns, because the Ravens and the Browns both have really, really good defenses that have helped propel them to where they are now. The Baltimore Ravens are a little bit more two-dimensional with offensive defense, as they've been playing great on both sides of the ball. Lamar Jackson has been leading the Ravens offense in stellar fashion throughout the majority of the season and only been slipping in a few of the games, not many. And when you look at the Browns, with what they've done since Joe Flacco's come off the couch and has been leading that offense and riding the coattails of a great defense this far to a playoff berth, still have a chance of getting a 12th victory, and they will not win the division, but they will definitely at least add to the illustrious great season that they've had. So, in my opinion, when it comes to the 49ers, I don't believe anybody's going to stop them in the NFC. I believe the way that they got knocked out last year with Brock Purdy getting hurt and, the resurgence of all that this year, they're playing a little bit smarter ball in some aspects, but also continuing the momentum that they had from last year as well. I think the 49ers go through the NFC, get to the Super Bowl. If they play the Ravens or the Browns in that Super Bowl, they may not win it. They may lose that Super Bowl. But if any other team gets to the AFC, if the Chiefs, barely get through, or, looking at, let's say, if the Bills make the playoffs, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, are already in the playoffs, but if they get that far, the 49ers are going to win. But against the Ravens or the Browns, I think those are the two teams that by the time we get to Super Bowl time, we're going to be the only two teams that are going to be capable of stopping this 49ers offense because of how the deck is stacked. So when it comes to that take right there, I would have to say that would be my answer. Now, moving on to our next topic, speaking of within that division being the Ravens and the Browns, the North, the Lamar Jackson perfect passer rating against the Dolphins helps Ravens clinch the top seed in the AFC. Are there any teams the Ravens want to avoid? Yeah, the one I just talked about that could be a problem for the 49ers if things match up in the Super Bowl, and that being the Browns. They've given them problems throughout many times over the years when it comes to this defense as they've been building and getting ready for this moment. I think that the major team that they want to avoid going into this playoff run would be the Cleveland Browns because of that defense. The offense probably will have a little bit of a problem as far as the Cleveland Browns offense would have a little bit more of a problem going against the defense of the Ravens. However, the other way around, the script is flipped, and I think that defense on that offense is going to not be a great matchup when it comes to that situation. Browns off defense versus Ravens offense. It's gonna be fun for us to watch, but it's not gonna be fun for the Ravens to be a part of trying to get over the hump against them. I think the team they want to avoid is that Cleveland Browns team, and that's who I'm picking as the Ravens team to avoid. Now, moving on to the Chicago Bears. The Bears celebrate a win, and they've also got the top pick in the 2024 NFL draft with the Panthers' loss. What should the Bears choose with the number 1 overall pick in April's NFL draft? Well, the great thing about the playoffs in college football is we've seen a variety of different stars get elevated throughout that. And it's been the course of things we've seen for many years of how well your players play in the college football playoff. And the national championship and all that stuff determines usually who's going to be in the number 1 pick unless they've had a stellar season outside of it, didn't quite get that far like we've seen as other players in years past. But, there's been all this hype around Caleb Williams and Michael Penix Jr. And, there's definitely some talented players out there. But I don't know if you're the Bears, if you want to go after a quarterback, because Justin Fields, even though he's been a little bit rocky at times, he's definitely showed promise in different areas as well. So for me, I don't know if the Chicago Bears should go quarterback because I still believe in old Justin Fields. I think he can do a pretty good job. Now, looking at mock drafts, you can look and definitely see that, people have definitely got different choices there. I would say that you need to get a weapon for Justin Fields over there in Chicago, and someone who's definitely going to be at the top of the charts, whether you have him at 1, 2, or 3, is going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. You make that move if you're Chicago and you bring in Marvin Harrison Jr. with the number 1 overall pick. I think it would be really, really smart for your franchise, because that to me is what you've been lacking for quite some time. That number 1 bona fide stud at wide receiver that could definitely be a difference maker. Justin Fields, is definitely needed to mature a little bit at that quarterback position, but I think we've seen a little bit of that this year. I think that's why they're at the record that they are right now at 7-9. And there was a while where this team looked like they could have 2 picks within the top 3, let alone the top 5 of the NFL draft. Cole and I were sitting up here and talking about it, 4 to 6 weeks ago. Now things have definitely changed quite a bit within this team to where we're talking about the fact that they're at the middle of the pack and that they've made enough noise to where they don't have 2 top picks in the top 5, but they still got the Panthers pick, and that's not going to change. Let's see what Sick has to say before I keep on with this one. The question is, which teams that make it into the playoffs will have a full roster? It's a good question, too. But when we go back and we talk about the Ravens, this is probably one of the healthiest Ravens teams I've seen in quite some time. A team that has historically been known for their defensive play. It seems like when we've gotten to the playoff times for those teams that have been carried by the defense, the pieces that were there to help them on the offense have been banged up too much to help them make a spark, whether it's at the quarterback position or running back or wide receiver. Those 3 positions right there for the Ravens have been impacted enough by injury over the years that every single time we get to week 17, week 18, and it's time to get ready to start the playoffs, they're nowhere to be found because they're too banged up to play. So I would say this year, this Ravens team is another team to be scary to look at because they've got as many pieces as they could possibly have up at this point, and they should be damn proud of that. It's obvious that Justin Fields needs to leave Chicago. The Bears' offensive line has no respect for him. That's a very good call out there, Sick. So looking at what I was saying, I was basically going with bringing Marvin Harrison Jr. because, I feel like that could help not the momentum, but the chemistry of the offense to where you have a star. He's going to make Justin Fields look good. And then that resurrects whatever turmoil that they had going on with the team prior to that moment. Now, you could also go with what Sick's saying. You can trade Justin Fields away this offseason. You can get some more capital in return, maybe some more picks, whether it's a first-round pick as well, or you trade Justin Fields and your first-round pick to move up in the first round and have 2 picks within the top 10, one being that number 1 overall pick and the other one being inside the top 10 as well. You could make so many moves, take a quarterback and a wide receiver, but I think that first overall pick, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a stud and someone that's going to change a franchise around. You draft him, and then maybe if you get a high enough draft pick, there's other quarterbacks within the draft that are going to be high enough valued to where you can still get them with a top 10 pick. And, Penix, definitely doing great things for Washington, especially what you saw last night in the Sugar Bowl. And, there's other quarterbacks as well that are going to be available. So, yes, if they're going to go that route, Sick, you could do that, trade Justin Fields and your Chicago Bears pick to get more capital to move up into the top 10 and make some moves there. I kind of like that too. But if you're going to keep Justin Fields, I feel like you got to get him a bona fide weapon. And the best way to do that is to bring in a son of a Hall of Famer who, in many cases, we don't see Hall of Fame talent produce offspring that are just as good and just as hungry to be that good. This is something special with Marvin Harrison Jr., and I think that the Bears need to be smart enough to take him with the number 1 overall pick. That's who I would pick if I was the Chicago Bears general manager or whoever's in charge of making these picks happen for this team right here. So looking at that, that is our Gridiron Scoop. And I'm going to miss Cole for this one, but we have to do this. We have to go to our grand champ.
Total football talk.
You know, there were many good plays and many good players from this past week in week 17. But based on the play from this one player, I would be remiss if I did not give this person my grand champ of the week. I absolutely have to pick this guy. Based on what he did last offseason with negotiating his own contract and then coming into this season doing what he's doing to lead the Ravens to the success that they have had, I got to give this to Lamar Jackson. 18 of 21 for 321 passing yards and 5 passing touchdowns. It's insane. It is absolutely video game what he did. And on top of that, he had 6 carries for 35 yards, averaging nearly 6 yards per rush. You got to give it to Lamar Jackson. Nobody else this past weekend had a game quite like he did. And for me, I would just have to say that it's been a fun year watching him do what he's doing. You know, my team over there on the other side of the Beltway, being the Washington Commies, are not doing much, so I at least have to get some type of enjoyment in this area. And I'll have to say that I've been getting it by watching the Baltimore Ravens. It has definitely been a fun year for them. I know they're enjoying it. All of you over there who are fans of that team, so continue enjoying it. It is definitely going to be a run to definitely cherish, and it would be funny if they make it to the Super Bowl and get to play in their own stadium, kind of like how Tampa Bay did back in 2020. So Tampa Bay actually pulled it off. We'll see if the Ravens can get that far and if they can pull it off. They have a really good chance of doing it, but they have some other really good teams that they have to get through, and they just got through one this past weekend, being the Miami Dolphins, which, you know, we expected it to be a game because of how good both teams were. I never would have thought that it would have been 56-19. That was definitely a game where looking at that score, it was definitely a lopsided score. So for those of you watching it, let me know here in the comments how you felt when watching that Ravens and Dolphins game. And just in general, let me know what you're thinking right now, people. Put some comments in that chat. Light it up. Cole had to step away for a little bit. Keep me company. Help me out with some comments over here in the chat. We got to take this into another commercial break, but when we come back, we got the featured attractions next. Some great topics that we got in store for you, and looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say about them here in the comments. If you could, during this commercial break, please like, share, and subscribe this show for both Comey Media and Sertoba Media. We would greatly appreciate you and the contributions that you make to help us grow out here in these streams. See you here on the other side of this commercial break.
Coming up next, the featured attractions. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated. Creating content magic in the real world.
Little right here. Look at the inside of these cakes. Now, when you bite into it, just as I demonstrated while you were talking at the beginning of your discussion right there, I could taste the drugs inside of this cake, Sick. I could taste the addiction within the cream filling of this cake right here, to where they not only us with that cake right there, but they made an ice cream out of it. They made an ice cream out of it. A 1-pint Christmas tree cake ice cream. Look at that little just smile up there. Look, she is up to no good on there. Look at that. Look at that smile on there, Sick. She knows that she got you. Got him is what's in her mind right now.
Acknowledge me.
Look at that little smile right there. She's up to no good.
D. Willie in the evening. Thursdays at 11:15 p.m. Eastern, 10:15 p.m. Central. Exclusively on Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign D Willie 87. Go ahead and hit him up on the Cash App and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. Some Willie Bucks.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
If you're looking for a sports program that gives you the flavor.
Washington Commanders? Really?
This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
That pulls no punches.
Thuggish act by a thuggish actor.
That gives you some humor.
Praise everything LeBron does and never criticize it.
If you want a show that gives you good times, then this is that show. BS3 Network proudly presents.
I am Cole Johnson, and welcome to
Cole Sports with a Z. Every Friday on Patreon, and every Saturday on YouTube, Spreaker, and all other outlets.
And welcome back to more Total Football Talk action. I am your co-host, Drew Willingham, as we've got a couple comments for this. This long Twitch comment. I'm sorry, I'm not going to post that up there. Because when it comes to talking management, you will have to hit us up at either Comey Media Incorporated at gmail.com or Sertoba Media at gmail.com. We will read that long message right there, and then we will respond accordingly. But right now, we are in the middle of a show. So thank you to Tiled Whiplash X on Twitter, because if I put that comment up here, it would be like this. I would look like Wilson from Home Improvement. It would just be too much to dissect, even though I just said a lot right there. Sick Diggy says, I have a soft spot for Rottweilers. Well, I definitely do as well. Rottweilers are definitely pretty cool. And with that, I'll even give you this one more time.
Total Football Talk.
Even though we've already gone through the dog of the week because the Rottweiler is cool in there, I figured I'd give that back for you one more time there, Sick Dicky. So comments as well. He says, I'm glad I can't consume gluten or dairy, Drew Willingham. Stay away from me, Little Debbie. So I guess we are acknowledging that for you there, Sick.
Acknowledge me.
So if anybody was to walk near you with a Little Debbie Christmas tree cake, you would pull the Matt Hardy and do this. Delete! Understandably so. I can't get mad at that. I cannot get mad at that whatsoever. Even though I like Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes, Christmas is over. You cannot get Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes. It is back to eating relatively normal. So with all that being said, we slightly did this. Now we're back in action. Let's see what other comments we got here. Oh, it's just subscribe now and never miss out on new content. Definitely do that if you haven't, to either Comey Media or Sertoba Media. If you're not sure how, click the description, and in that description is a way to find both platforms. Now, let's go ahead and take this into, we'll say, the featured attractions. So for the featured attractions this week, we've got 3 games that we've definitely got to look at right here for these featured attractions. And we'll start this out with this Saturday's 4:30 p.m. kickoff between the 9-7 Pittsburgh Steelers and the 13-3 Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are rated at -1 for this, for their chances of winning this game, which I feel like they should be favored a little bit more, considering that they are 13-3 and the Steelers of what they've done this year. But we'll get more into that here in a moment. Looks like Sick Diggy says, I'd more likely sing the Lenny Kravitz cover of American Woman than scream delete. Nice. So when it comes to the featured attraction of this game right here between the 9-7 Steelers and the 13-3 Baltimore Ravens, how has Mike Tomlin been able to not have a losing record in 17 years? It's definitely different when I'm asking these questions and then answering them myself. I miss Cole Johnson, but doing the best I can out here in these streams. And when it comes to answering this question right here, 17 years. We were talking about it earlier when he was here, but the fact that you cannot deny this man deserves to be a Hall of Fame inducted coach. 17 years without a losing record, especially when you go back two and a half months ago, and we're looking at the turmoil within this Steelers team. You got Big Ben Roethlisberger talking about how the culture is much different now than it was when he was running the team. You know, it's like chickens with their heads cut off running around in that locker room. Somehow, some way, Mike Tomlin brought this team back together to where they're relevant enough to where, regardless of what happens in this game with the Ravens, you're going to finish with a winning record this season. You're going to at least be 9-8, and you still have potential to get the double-digit wins and still make some type of a playoff run. So we'll see what happens when it comes to that team in Pittsburgh. But to think that 2 months ago they're talking about potentially finally relieving Mike Tomlin after having the previous 16 years of winning records and playoffs, Super Bowl appearances, and a Super Bowl victory along with that. And you're talking about firing the man. And look what he's done now. And just like Sick Diggy says right here, Mike Tomlin established a winning tradition in Pittsburgh. He knows how to get his players on board with this message. Absolutely. And for that, with 6 comments,
Acknowledge me.
Acknowledge him, because that's definitely a great comment out there. Because for those of you who have been a part of those 7 losses, Charles Barkley's telling you this.
That's terrible.
Considering the fact of how bad this team was 2 months ago, and you're calling for the coach's head to get relieved of his duties over there in Pittsburgh, I think that the man has definitely proved his case of he is definitely a great head coach and deserves a little bit more praise than what he's gotten to the point that what he has. So give him the praise that he deserves.
Hey. Who's giving him the business?
Okay, so moving on to within the same game, are the Ravens the best team in the NFL right now? I would have to say
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no.
Some of you are probably like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? The Ravens aren't the best team in the league right now. I just said it. They aren't the best team in the league right now. And here's why.
Hell to the no, to the no, no, no. Hell no, to the no.
And if
You can't handle the truth.
I'm sorry, bro. That's how it is. They're not the best team in the league right now. You got to go to the 49ers first. The 49ers, in my opinion, are the best team in the league. They are the most hungry team that we've seen in the league. And, you know, even though the Ravens have a better record than the 49ers, I just think the 49ers have a little bit more talent than what the Ravens do as far as on both sides of the ball. And trading for Chase Young during the season tipped the scales on that. Had they not made the move for Chase Young, I would give it to the Ravens, because the record and the numbers isn't always everything, okay? Had they not lost 3 straight games at one point in the season, this would be a totally different scenario, and you wouldn't have an argument with me. But because of that, you could tip the scale on that. But given the fact they made the trade for Chase Young, if they had Chase Young all season long, they wouldn't have lost those 3 straight games. That's just my opinion. So looking at this right here, my opinion with that is the Ravens are not the best team in the NFL right now. They are the best team in the NFC, in the AFC. But in the NFL, no. AFC, the conference, yes, not the NFL. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I feel when it comes to that right there.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
Now, the game prediction that I have right here. The Baltimore Ravens have locked up the 1 seed. They made the playoffs. This isn't a meaningless game, but this is also not a game to where they need to keep the starters in the entire game and risk injury for nothing, just to get a 14th win in the season. It's everything for the Steelers because based on the playoff picture right here, they still have a 29% chance of making the playoffs. And they're playing the Seahawks this week, which they have a chance to win that game as well. But the Seahawks, if they win, they have a chance to make the playoffs as well. They still have a 26% chance. So that game right there is going to be big for the two of them. But right here for the Ravens, looking at what the Ravens have this week, they have, this past week they played the Dolphins, okay? And they did what they did. So looking at this situation right here, things could be a little dicey when it comes to this Steelers and Ravens matchup, okay, in this Week 18 matchup. So Saturday, January 6th, 4:30, Elvis's birthday. Steelers, Ravens. It's all come down to this. What is my prediction? It's a home game for the Ravens, okay? It's the last home game of the season going into their playoff run with the potential of playing in a Super Bowl in their own stadium. I don't think they're going to lose this game. I don't think the Steelers are going to make the playoffs either. I want them to make the playoffs for Mike Tomlin, but regardless if they makes the playoffs or not, they're still going to finish with a winning record, and the legend of the Mike Tomlin coaching era will live on as he'll have 17 winning seasons. And if the Steelers cut bait with him, he still has a lot of notoriety going to the next team and will definitely be picked up by a team this offseason if he is let go. But looking at this Ravens team right here, what John Harbaugh has done there were times during his coaching tenure after he won that Super Bowl within the past 10 years where they were considering cutting bait with him, and they kept him, and look at what you got. You eventually got Lamar Jackson, the replacement quarterback for Joe Flacco, and this team has been making noise ever since and has been improving. And this probably one of the greatest teams that Harbaugh has coached this year, and probably one of the greatest teams the Ravens have had in their franchise. And this is a team that's already won 2 Super Bowls. So says a lot. They do have to get past the Browns in the AFC, in my opinion, and then we'll have to get past the 49ers in the Super Bowl. But they can do it. It's going to be a challenge, but there's still plenty of life left in this season, the playoffs, and time to make it actually happen for them. You don't think the Steelers want to give the Ravens a run for their money? Oh, I think they want to. I just don't think they'll have the ability to because what the Ravens have on both sides of the ball between offense and defense is not the same for what the Steelers have. If this was like the Browns going against the Ravens, oh, absolutely, they will be definitely giving them a run for their money. The Steelers will want to give them a run for their money. I just don't think that they will necessarily be able to do that consistently throughout the course of this game at the point in the season for which this is. Because when you go back and you look on the Steelers season, okay, it's been an up and down kind of year. I mean, it started out a little hot. Now, even though the Steelers won on October 8th, 17-10 against that Lamar Jackson-led team, Lamar Jackson was not himself that day as he was 22 with 38, 236 yards and an interception. And he had 6 carries for 45 yards as well. They could not get the running game going as Gus Edwards only had 48 yards. Zay Flowers did have 73 yards, but could not get the ball in the end zone to save his life. So when you look at that and the fact that Kenny Pickett threw 18 of 32, 224 yards and a touchdown, and the main thing that kept them in that game was George Pickens having 130 reception yards and a touchdown. When you look at the defensive stats, and my boy Cole Holcomb, that used to be with the Washington team, was in there and had 8 tackles and an assist. It was the defense that kept them in that game. And the defense, to me, even though they do have 9 wins, they have not looked up to they have not played up to that level since that October 8th game, in my opinion. So I think they'll want to give them a run for their money, but I think so much has happened in the last 3 months now, it'll be, since the time that they've played each other. So much has changed. The Ravens are clicking on all cylinders right now, and against a Steelers team that has question marks, even though they are where they are right now, I don't think the Steelers can match up to it. I could be wrong, and I've been wrong at other points throughout this season and throughout my life. But that is just my opinion after watching this season unfold the way that it has.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
So we've gone through that game right there. Let's go ahead and take this to a game I really wish Cole was here to talk about with me, but I understand he's got work and stuff and things that we got to work around. So I will have to take on this game myself when it comes to the 9-7 Houston Texans taking on the 9-7 Indianapolis Colts, with playoff implications definitely on the line for this. So I believe I'm saying this right off memory. If the Jaguars lose and the Texans win this game against the Colts, they're in the playoffs. If the Jaguars lose and the Colts beat the Texans in this game, the Colts are in the playoffs. So this game right here, I mean, depending on what happens with the Jags, will definitely have huge implications. And looking at this game, let's see, when you look at the Jaguars play on Sunday at 1:00, so when this game ends, we're still not going to know necessarily who's in until the Jags game the next day. So a lot more drama and anticipation for people having it set up this way. But when you look into the game for what it is, should the Texans be proud of getting here or hunger for more? That's a really good question posed by my man Cole Johnson in this slate of topics. You know, I think it's a little bit of both. I think you should definitely already be happy to be here, because regardless of what happens, you're going to have a winning record. If you win, you get to 10 wins. If you win and the Jaguars win, you still get to double-digit wins and you don't make the playoffs, but you still have something to be happy about. I think you go out there and you still stay hungry and you continue to go for the goal, because, you know, you don't know what next season is going to be like. Next season, you could take a step back. C.J. Stroud could have a sophomore slump. You don't know. It's been part of history and been proven several times over before. We'll have to see how things pan out for that team during this offseason, if they can build on what they've already established. But in my opinion, I think that you got to be hungry for more and continue to strive for greatness out there. And I think that that's what D'Amico Ryans is going to lead this team to doing this Saturday when it comes to the Texans taking on the Colts.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
So, do the Colts have a future quarterback issue? With Uncle Rico coming in there and doing what he's done this year, I'd say he has definitely elevated his game a little bit in his stock within the NFL. Doesn't mean that it's going to create an issue within the Indianapolis Colts. I think they still are high on Anthony Richardson. I think it would be wise to keep Uncle Rico, that Gardner Minshew, and to have somebody to compete with Anthony Richardson next year in case he does completely fall off the face of the earth. And they have to have a go-to guy, because without Gardner Minshew, a.k.a. Uncle Rico, they would not be where they're at this point in the year at 9-7. The Colts, you know, we've been saying it for several times over for many years. They themselves have looked like they are an absolute team full of dumpster pelicans. Probably that 9th or 10th one in the back, the one that looks like it's got some diddly poo on its side. I would say that would be the one that would be the Colts back then. But they definitely elevated their game. They are not on the dumpster pelican list, in my opinion, at this point in the year. And I would say a lot of that, you know, you could say the coaching from old Steichen over there. You could say the play from Uncle Rico over there, and along with some of the other players they have with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, and you know, the other players they have, that's been part of why they haven't taken only but 7 of these. If you think otherwise, you might just need
You
to.
should know your role and shut your mouth.
Sorry, bro. Now, back to this. When it comes to the quarterback issue, I really honestly don't think that they have one. I just don't.
Who's giving them the business?
With that said, game predictions are here. This is tough because they're both 9-7. They've both been playing really decent football in spurts throughout this year. Now, when the Texans didn't have CJ Stroud because he was banged up a little bit, they definitely felt the brunt of that by not having CJ Stroud in there. But what I can tell you is, you know, with the Colts, they definitely have not felt the brunt of not having Anthony Richardson, because looking back to September 17th, a monumental day in this division, when it wasn't far off of removed that we didn't have Anthony Richardson because he had started that game. I think it was either the last game he played or one of the last games he played before he's completely gone. So he was 6 of 10 that game, 56 yards. Uncle Rico comes in 19 of 23, 171 yards and a touchdown against the Houston Texans. And the Colts win 31-20 in the second game of the season. It dropped the Texans to 0-2, and it brought the Colts to 1-1. And now you fast forward. That was week 2. We're now going into week 18. This is 16 weeks later. And who would have thought that the Texans, after starting 0-2, would be 9-7 at this point, would go 9-5 for the remainder of the season, and be tied with the Colts as far as the record in the division, and have a chance to not only win the division in week 18 and step over that team being the Colts, but they would have a chance to have double-digit wins to end the season. That's pretty damn remarkable if you ask me. I'd say that's pretty remarkable, considering where this Texans team has been throughout the history of this franchise over the last 20 years. So definitely big on D'Amico Ryans. But when you think about all that, and the fact that the Colts won 31-20 in that game, it speaks volumes for how things can go for this game right here in week 18. I think in order for the Texans to overcome that, they're going to have to continue to have a strong running game. If their running game can stay strong, they will not only win this game, but they'll win decisively. But if they have running backs in their team going for 31 yards and 14 yards and 4 yards and 2 yards and 1 yard, that they did out of those 5 rushes that they had for their team back on September 21st. Was that the right game? Yeah, September 17th. It was the right date. September 17th, they had those 5 rushers running for those accumulated yards I just talked about. It's not going to be a pretty day for the Houston Texans. But the biggest difference in how they've gotten to where they are this year is from that 0-2 point, they've done a really good job of establishing the run consistently, getting anywhere from 60 to 70 to 80 yards on a regular basis throughout these games. And I cannot stress it enough. Other people who do other podcasts, even people on higher platforms, will tell you, when it comes to the game of football, if you cannot establish the run and mix up your play calling, you have no shot. No shot at not only winning the game, but having a winning season and making noise in the playoffs. You have to be more than one-dimensional. And that's not just saying that you're good on defense and bad on offense, and that's one-dimensional. I'm talking about one-dimensional in your play calling, okay? And one-dimensional in your play calling, in that case, would be all you're doing is slinging the rock and passing it, okay? So you have to be able to establish the run, to have your play actions, to be able to pass said ball. This is my opinion, okay? Not a millionaire. I'm not the best out here, but I'd like to say, and others have said, that I know a little bit about the game of football, especially when it comes to mixing it up out there on that gridiron. So with all that being said, if the Houston Texans can continue to establish the run, everyone stays healthy, and they make smart plays, They're going to win that game. However, if the Colts defense can stop the Houston Texans running game and hold them to a low level amount of production on that rushing side, Colts are going to win that game. My opinion for what happens this week, I think that the Houston Texans have grown a lot since that week 2 loss, and I think they're going to prove it this week. And they're going to win the game regardless of what the Jaguars do the next day to seal the fate for the Texans for the playoffs. I think they finish this season with 10 wins, and D'Amico Ryans deserves to be in the conversation for Coach of the Year, even though, like Cole and I talked about it earlier today, we feel like it's going to most likely go to Dan Campbell for what he's done with the Lions, even though he made a stupid call against the Cowboys and went for 3 times. But we said it enough earlier, and I'm not going to say it again.
Who's giving them the business?
Now, our final game for the featured attractions, we have to talk about the 10-6 Buffalo Bills taking on the Miami Dolphins Sunday at 8:20 p.m. for the kickoff. When it comes to this game right here, how should the Bills feel about rebounding from their earlier woes? What I think is they should be proud they don't have that offensive coordinator anymore, because ever since they got rid of that offensive coordinator, things been trending on upward like a big old stock in the stock market once you make a trade, okay? However, when it comes to this team right here and how they should feel about rebounding from their earlier woes, I think they should be really proud of themselves, because looking at this situation right now, the Bills have a 94% chance to make the playoffs after this past week. 94% chance playoffs. Looking at that, pretty remarkable considering, a while ago, not that long ago, they had to cut bait with their offensive coordinator, and it looked like they were going to miss the playoffs. They turned it around, and now look where they're at. 94% chance to make the playoffs. You should be pretty proud of yourself, and I think that's going to carry over into some positive momentum, whether they make the playoffs or not.
Who's giving them the business?
But they probably will. Do the Dolphins have a problem beating playoff caliber teams? I want to say
hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no.
Unfortunately, when it comes to the question of do the Dolphins have a problem with playing playoff caliber teams?
Yeah.
It seems like they do. And even Charles Barkley's saying this.
That's terrible.
It's going to get to the point to where maybe not McDaniel, but somebody within that team is...
Yeah! Fire!
If they take too many of these high-calibered ones, they could. They very well could. He was giving him the business, yes. that umpire, the referee said that one game was definitely legendary for saying that. But when it comes to this right here, I feel like they do have a problem with beating playoff caliber teams, especially with what you saw in that game against the Ravens this past weekend. So you guys let me know what you think.
Who's giving them the business?
All right, so my prediction for this game right here, I think the wheels have fallen off in Miami based on what's gone on over this past month. The Bills are going to embarrass them somehow, not with an embarrassing score, but with just the fact that the Dolphins are going to lose. I think the Dolphins fall to 11-6, and the Bears and the Bills improve to 11-6. And continue with their playoff climbing of the ladder. Because, hey, looking at the Dolphins, they're already in the playoffs, okay? It's not changing, okay? But the Bills, come on now. They could definitely make some noise. And it's time for them to resurrect themselves and basically put some ice on this fire that we've been seeing from the Dolphins for this season. Mickey Delaney says Pittsburgh. Mickey Delaney is saying that Pittsburgh will win that game when it comes to the Steelers and the Ravens. Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes. More like the Dolphins are getting sloppy. A good finish is always better than a good start. Yes, you're absolutely right. They are definitely getting sloppy. Mick then comes back and says the Houston Texans will beat the Colts. So at least we agree with that. So we got the Houston Texans and the Colts. Now, Mick, before we move on, who do you think wins between the Bills and the Dolphins? Do you agree with me and say the Bills are going to beat the Dolphins? Or will the Dolphins turn it around and get their 12th win of the season? You let me know right here what you think is going to happen.
Who's giving them the business?
With that said, guys, we've gone through the featured attractions. We've got the chopping block, snowflake of the week, and the 2-minute drill remaining. But with that said, with that said, I think that we should go ahead and take this into said chopping block and see what we've says the Browns. Well, Mick, we haven't gotten to that game yet. So I appreciate you throwing that out there, but we'll get back to that here in a second. When it comes to the chopping block, members of the referee and crew for the Lions and Cowboys game are unlikely to work postseason. What are your thoughts on the 2-point conversion controversy? Well, I know that one play that stopped the 2-point conversion, that one call, with the penalties and all that. Yeah, there was some controversy in there. I think the bigger controversy of the two was the fact that Man Campbell, aka Dan Campbell, called for a 2-point conversion 3 times in a row. We talked about it earlier. The fact that when you didn't get it the first time, I get you going for it for the second time when you have the opportunity to do that because of the penalty. But you don't get it the second time. At that point, you kick the field goal, take the thing to overtime, take your chances. That's what I thought. I look back on that more than the officiating, because there's been spotty officiating for years. Since before we were born in the NFL, and they had the NFL, there was, spotty referee calling, okay? It's only more prominent now because we can see it more up close and personal now because the advancements of technology and whatnot. So, to me, I'm not going to look at this situation and blame it more on the refs. I'm going to blame it more on Man Campbell and the fact that he should have done a better job of play calling.
Who's giving them the business?
Now, Russell Wilson says the Broncos had threatened benching if he didn't renegotiate the contract. What does the Broncos benching of Russell Wilson say about his future Pro Football Hall of Fame candidacy? Well, that's a really good question. Because when you look at that Seattle team that he played for, well, the Seattle teams that were there during his tenure of being on the Seattle Seahawks, a lot of his success came from being carried by others, meaning the Legion of Boom defense. Marshawn Lynch is his running back. You had some pretty decent pieces around you when it comes to Tyler Lockett, Ricardo Lockett, DK Metcalf, and others. Along with, you had some pretty decent tight ends as well. You have had your fair share of great pieces to work with. Okay. And in Denver, although there are some question marks around that team in more of a fashion, or at least last year than this year, but also more question marks around that team and the productivity that you can get out of it, more so than the Seahawks teams that you played with. I think it speaks more volumes on the fact that Russell Wilson has had to go from one situation to another to where they want to get rid of him in less than 2 years after he's gotten there and have to go start something somewhere else. If Russell Wilson is cut from the Broncos or traded or whatever the situation is this offseason and goes somewhere else and does not have any type of success, he does not get in the Hall of Fame. I think that completely disintegrates any hope that he has of getting in the NFL Hall of Fame, because he hasn't done anything Hall of Fame worthy with the Broncos. Well, except this year with the positive touchdown to interception ratio. His QBR has gone up. I would say that in itself has definitely improved. But if you go to a third situation and you don't have success there, I don't think that that's going to help your case for going for the Hall of Fame. And we'll see what happens with that. Wilson needs to be released from his contract. There's no point of him staying in Denver. Well, I absolutely agree with that, Sick Diggy. I'm not disagreeing with that whatsoever. And, I think that what they got out of Russell Wilson this year speaks more volumes on the coaching of Sean Payton and the preparation of the team's game plan rather than what the talents of Russell Wilson actually are. So for that, I would say when it comes to this question right here of what does it say about his Pro Football Hall of Fame candidacy, I think for right now, it's still up in the air, and I'm going to vote that we bring this question back at another time when it's Cole and I talking about it, and probably within next season.
Who's giving them the business?
So our next topic here within the chopping block, Kyler Murray throws 3 touchdown passes as the Cardinals rally past the Eagles, disrupts Philly's playoff path. Are the Eagles feeling the effects of losing Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen? I'd have to say.
Yeah.
However, on the other hand, I'm going to say.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no, no.
The reason why I say that is you went in December 10-1. You were 10-1, so you went 11-4 in December. The game against the 49ers on December 3rd took the wind out of your sails. And you got mollywopped in that game. And you haven't really recovered since, only winning 1 game since then and going 1-4 during those 5 weeks of December. So on one hand, I say yes, probably within the past month of December, you felt the tale of woe, but December is usually a big test to these teams, the ones who are pretenders throughout the season. Then once the weather gets really cold and it's like 30 degrees and below outside, and you start getting some snow flurries and some cold rain, and it really goes and determines who is the snowflake on the field and who is not, which we'll get to their snowflake of the week pick here very shortly. But when it comes to that, this time of year is a testament to who has been working their blank off and is tough out there on that field. And, I'm not really trying to say that the Eagles have become pacified, but somewhere along the way, whether it's in game prep, up here with studying, or if it's physically getting prepared, somewhere along the line, they've lost a step and they got to figure out how to get this back and get it back quick before week 18 and before any hope of a playoff push, because they have been knocked down in this past month. And the Cowboys have definitely kept climbing. And that's why the Cowboys are at the top of that division and doing the things they are doing in the NFC East. I have to give it to them. And Mick, I will definitely go over your picks here in a second once we go through the actual games, because we haven't quite gotten to that. You're a little bit ahead of me on that, but I will definitely get to you on that. But let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and take this into
football talk.
And here with the snowflake of the week. This one was pretty tough. I, at first, was really, really, really bouncing this one around because I wasn't sure who I really wanted to go with. Because there was some really, really, really shiesty play by several different players throughout this past week. But I would say that there were 2 teams where I really narrowed this down to of who I was going to pick as far as my pick for the snowflake of the week. And it came down to these 2 games, and one of them being this terrible team play from the Titans, as they only put up 3 points going against the Houston Texans. But the other one came off of a team that got blanked. A team that got blanked by the Jags, and that being the Panthers. For you to spend a number 1 overall pick, and you got Bryce Young, okay, regardless of how bad this team is, 19 of 32, 112 yards, and an interception. That's all you can muster up in this game. Now, granted, you didn't have much of a rushing attack because Chuba Hubbard only went 11 carries for 45 yards, and your number 1 receiver was 6 receptions of 38 yards, and Adam Thielen. So you didn't get much help there, but at the same time, it all stems from the leadership from your QB1. And just think, if the Panthers would have taken C.J. Stroud, they would have a little bit better of a season going for them right now. I'm not saying that they would have taken C.J. Stroud, they would have the same successes that the Texans do, because the Texans have got other pieces around C.J. Stroud that are clicking a lot better than they would have if he would have gone to the Panthers and he was trying to click with the pieces around him there, because they still need help with that offensive line, and that defense is absolutely suspect over there in Carolina. That's why I love that name that Ryan McCarthy threw out there earlier, being the Carolina Trash Kitties. And I'm going to probably keep calling them that, the Carolina Trash Kitties, because that's what they've been playing like, absolute trash. And the UFL wanted to eliminate the Orlando Guardians. I think the NFL should eliminate the Carolina Trash Kitties.
Delete! 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 Delete!
Take out the Trash Kitties.
Delete! 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 What?
Oh, you know what I said.
What?
Oh, I said take out the trash.
What?
Kitties. Now back to the action. When it comes to this situation right here, I had to give my snowflake to Bryce Young. That's who I was feeling. 19 to 32, 112 yards of interception. Are you really kidding me, bro? Are you? Come on now. Like, seriously, man. And then you get blanked. You get blanked in that situation as well. 26-0. Can't take this Trash Kitties team seriously. Please, for the love of everything great in the world,
Stop it. Get some help.
please. This is absolutely terrible. Yes. Trash. Cole, we need that transition on this show. We need trash. So, speaking of sick, very, very good call out right there. The Eagles backups need to step up. A roster's depth is crucial. It very much is. The roster's depth is very much crucial. And you got to be able to rely on all of your players out there, not just 1, 2, but your third string as well. Your first and second string you got to rely on, but you got to rely on your third string. 49ers wouldn't be where they are if they didn't rely on their third string quarterback last year in Brock Purdy. So there's not many people that can be a third string quarterback and have the success that Brock Purdy did. But come on, you can't deny it. That's just what I'm saying when it comes to that situation right there. And when it comes to the snowflake of the week, considering that it's just me right now, that is all we have for our pick.
Now, that is absurd.
No, it's not. No, it's not. You know, Rick James, I know you want to come up here and say your piece, but it's not absurd. This isn't an every week thing where it's just me. But for those of you sticking around and watching this, I greatly appreciate it. Your entertainment, my entertainment, meshing together out here on these streams. It's keeping the fire going, and I greatly appreciate it.
Acknowledge me.
I just did. I'm acknowledging you, the people. Doing great by me being here in the comments. I love you. Thank you very much for being here. Happy New Year. We got one final commercial break. And when we do, we got to go through the rundown of all the games this weekend. So, Mickey Delaney, your comments will definitely be coming up here in this next part. Stick around 2.5 minutes. I'll see you here for that topic.
The 2-minute drill is next. This is Total Football Talk. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets. Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. You want your commanders to be repped right? Well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Monday at 3:05 p.m. Eastern, 2:05 p.m. Central. Exclusively on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool.
Where my soldiers? Right side. Commanders. Where my soldiers? Left side.
Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze guard.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crayon they get, they palm it and do 2 circles, and that translates to, I can be the black people.
As she takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific Time Zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk Action. We have got the 2-minute drill to go through and talk about these games we've got for Week 18, the final week of regular season football action for the NFL. Let's go ahead and take it there. All right, you guys. Here it comes. When it comes to the 2-minute drill. Now, I have to do this in the Cole Johnson fashion. So I got to bring you some tunes along with it. Because looking at this right here, looking at this situation right here, looking at what we have for this weekend. Okay. Let's start it out with the Cleveland Browns, 11-5, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 8-8. The Bengals are favored -4 to beat this team right here. Now, looking at the comments, it looks like with Mickey Delaney says the Browns are going to win this game right here. 1 o'clock Sunday in Cincinnati, based on what Cincinnati has done this season and what they did this past week against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I'd have to say that I don't think the Bengals are going to win this game. I have to agree with Mickey Delaney. I'm going to say the Browns win this game as well. I cannot take this too seriously when it comes to this Bengals team. Given the fact that they got Jake Browning in there, I'm going to go with the Browns.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Okay. Now, our next game. The Minnesota Vikings, who are 7-9, go into Detroit to take on the 11-5 Detroit Lions at 1 o'clock. The Lions are favored by 4. When it comes to this, is this really a question? I'm going with the Lions.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Now to another important game. Not the team that's hosting the game. Tennessee Titans hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are 9-7. The Tennessee Titans are 5-11. The Jaguars are favored by -3.5. And Sunday, 1 o'clock. I think if the Jags win this game and take the division, I'm sorry, Cole Johnson. I really want them to win. I really want the Tennessee Titans to kind of win this game for you to help you get in the division, help you get the division if the Texans beat the Colts, which we'll probably see that on Saturday. So Texans beat the Colts on Saturday. I think that unless a miracle happens and Derrick Henry just turns back the clock 5 years or so, I think we're going to see the Jaguars win this game, take the division. It's something that we saw probably 6 weeks ago being more realistic than what it has been over the past couple weeks. So I'm sorry. I want to go with the Titans here for your sake. I rarely like picking them because of how bad of a team they've been this year and their quarterback tales of woes and everything. But the Jaguars are a better team and deserve to win this game, and I'm going with them.
Who's giving them the business?
So a team that our guy Ryan McCoffey knows very, very well, and that being the New York Jets. I have to look at this situation right here. Them being 6-10, a completely different team than what we thought we'd be seeing at Week 18 at this point, going back to Week 1, especially 4 plays in. We would not have imagined that happening or this situation right here with the New York Jets at 6-10 at this point, traveling to New England to take on the Patriots, who are 4-12. The Patriots are actually favored by 1.5 over the Jets in this one. Let's see what Mickey Delaney has here. He has the Jets. Let's go with the Jets. He says, for the sake of the Washington Commanders, I want the Patriots to win this game. Because if the Patriots win this game and the Commanders lose, the Commanders definitely have the 2nd overall draft pick in this next draft. If the Commanders beat the Cowboys and the Patriots lose, then the Patriots get the 2nd overall pick. So for this, my money, I want the Patriots to win. However, I'm going with the Jets too. I'm going with the Jets, and they're going to improve to 7-10 to carry that momentum into the offseason to help motivate Aaron Rodgers to get back on top and do what he was supposed to do in 2023 next season in 2024. And that's who I've got for that pick right there.
Who's giving them the business?
Now, the next game that we have featuring 2 dumpster Pelican teams. The teams being the 7-9 Atlanta Falcons traveling to New Orleans to take on the 8-8 New Orleans Saints. The Saints are favored by 3.5 in this Sunday 1:00 p.m. game. And considering how bad this division is, both of these teams still have a chance of making the playoffs. The Falcons still currently sit at a 10% chance to make the playoffs, while the Saints sit at a 31% chance to make the playoffs. Now, Mickey Delaney says that the Saints will win this game. Considering the fact Taylor Heineke threw for 3 interceptions this past weekend and has been playing pretty spotty, Artie Smith, the head coach, the mustache, just not clicking over there. I think I have to agree with that and say the Saints win this game, improve to 9-8. The Falcons will then drop to 7-10, and that's just going to be how the cookie crumbles in this situation. That's who I'm taking. That's my pick for this situation right here.
Who's giving them the business?
Now moving on to the next game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 8-8 overall, travel to Carolina. Take on the 2-14 Carolina Panthers this Sunday at 1:00. The Bucs are favored by 6 points, and they should be favored more, as Bunker Stayfield will actually play a pretty good game against his former team and win to improve to 9-8, and more than likely improve their chances of making the playoffs.
Who's giving them the business?
This game right here, division game, but one I'm not looking forward to watching. This Sunday at 4:25 p.m., the 7-9 Chicago Bears travel to Green Bay to Lambeau Field, take on the 8-8 Packers. Packers are favored at 1.5 to win this game, and Mickey Delaney says he's got the Bears winning this game. He's got the Bears winning this game right here. I was pretty shocked at seeing him having the Bears win this game, but I can't get upset at it either because I can see the Bears winning this game too, considering the pieces that they've made, considering the statements they want to make going into 2024. They would be making a big statement on the Packers, who are 8-8, still clawing for a playoff berth because the Packers are currently second in the NFC North and at an 8-8 record. So they have a chance, still to make the playoffs. They're still currently sitting at a 60% chance. But if the Bears beat them this weekend, drastically goes down. So the Bears win, bad chances. I think the Packers win this game. I disagree with you, Mick, because of how the Packers played, this past weekend. I got to give him the credit where it's due. I like what Jordan loves becoming and what he's growing into. I have to give him this credit. I think that they are going to win this game behind Jordan Love, and that's who I'm picking for this. Jordan Love, the Packers. That's my pick.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Moving on to our next game, the 8-8 Denver Bounties. Oh, my bad. The Denver Broncos take on the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas, who are 7-9 at this current moment. The Raiders are favored by 2.5 points in this 4:25 p.m. matchup. I think I'm going to go. This is a tough one, actually, because it's a meaningless game for like playoff positioning or anything. Like, nobody's going to make the playoffs out of these two teams, but I think it's a meaningful game for Antonio Pierce. So with this game, I think I'm going to go with the Raiders, even though Mick is going to go with Denver. Denver Bounty, yes. I've been calling them the Denver Bounties since Sean Payton came over there instead of the Denver Broncos because, he was part of Bounty Gate with Greg Williams over there in New Orleans. So I've been calling them the Denver Bounties. That's been my nickname for them. And football is an unpredictable game. Anything can happen. Oh, it absolutely can. You're absolutely right. And just like, the picks that we make on a weekly basis, we have some right, we have some wrong, we have some weeks where we're completely right. Haven't had a week where I'm completely wrong yet, but it could go that either way. Football, any given Sunday, Monday, or Saturday, or whatever day you play it, it could go any other way. So Mick is saying that the Broncos will win. I am going to sit here and tell you that I think that the Raiders are going to win this game this Sunday.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
So our next game features two NFC East teams doing battle. And I'm not talking about the Cowboys and the Commanders. I'm going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 11-5, traveling to New York, take on the Giants, who are 5-11. The Eagles are favored by 6.5 points in this Sunday 4:25 p.m. matchup. Considering the fact that the Eagles are 1-4 in December, I feel like they have to turn things around if they're going to make any type of noise in the playoffs this year because, for you to do what you did, start the year 10-1 going into December, then go 1-4 and 10-1 heading into December, and then 1-4 in the month of December to fall back to 11-5. It's not looking good for the strength of your team right now, and you have to get some type of a momentum spark heading into that playoff run and getting a win this weekend. The time for games is over there, Philadelphia, and I think they'll be able to actually pull that off against this 5-11 team. The Giants will fall to 5-12. The Eagles will improve to 12-5, and that's my prediction for this game.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
So our next game has the Seattle Seahawks, who are at 8-8, traveling to Arizona to take on the 4-12 Arizona Cardinals. The Seahawks are favored by 3 points. And Mickey Delaney, of course, is going to go with the Hawks. So he went through it. And he went with the Eagles for the previous one, but he's going with the Hawks for this one. And even though the Cardinals did what they did yesterday, I mean, not yesterday, but this past weekend against the Eagles, I don't think they're going to be able to do it against the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to be embarrassed based on what happened this past weekend. And I think I have to agree with Mickey Delaney. I think that they get the win, improve to 9-8 to at least finish the season strong with a winning record. But they have a lot of things to do this offseason, a lot of moves to make, and they got to figure out they want to keep Geno Smith for another few years, because there's been some times in games this year where he has looked like he's got the positive sparks that we've seen, those flashes in the pan in the past that we can see going forward in a positive direction. However, this past week and in some other games as well, he's proven that he is not going to be the long-term answer, and they need to make something happen and make a decision fast over there in Seattle if they want to resurrect their chances of being a team that can not only make the playoffs, but make a kind of a deep run in the playoffs as well.
Who's giving them the business?
So moving on to our next game with the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 10-6, traveling to LA to take on the Chargers, who are 5-11. The Chargers are favored by a point in this one, and I think deservingly so, because, you know, with the Chiefs winning the AFC West, they don't, you know, if they really want to play for, I really think the way that I looked at it, they can't get a better seed than where they're at. So they don't really need to play everybody in this game. This can be the game where you can play a lot of backups for the majority of the game, if not all the game, because the result of the game is not going to impact what happens in the playoffs for you. And the Chargers, you know, if they're playing a team full of backups for the Chiefs, they're going to have a really good chance of winning this game. So I think I have to agree with the spread on this one. I think I'm going to take the Chargers for this weekend, as the Chiefs will rest up to get ready for their playoff run for whatever they can pull off this season.
Who's giving them the business?
Moving on to our next game, the Los Angeles Rams, who are 9-7, travel to San Francisco to take on the 49ers, who are 12-4. Sunday at 4:25, the 49ers are favored by 2.5 points, and deservingly so. And regardless if they play a majority of their starters, they still have some great second stringers as well, who will definitely come in handy during this playoff run. And the Rams, you know, for as much noise as they've made this year, getting to 9 wins, I think I have to agree with this spread here. I think I'm going to take the 49ers in this game. That's 4:25 on Sunday. And it's just going to be another added layer of negativity for this Rams team, even though for where they are at right now at this point in the year is a big testament to Sean McVay. And to get them to this point in the year, I'd have to say, very proud of them. They still are in this playoff race, and it speaks more on the coaching than anything else when it comes to this Rams team.
Who's giving them the business?
And our final game of the week, the Dallas Cowboys, who I used to call and still call sometimes the Arlington Desperados, travel to D.C., FedEx Field, Landover, Maryland, whatever you want to call it, to take on the Washington, formerly known as the Redskins, formerly known as the Washington Team of Football, hashtag WTF, now the Washington Commanders, who are 4-12. Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time. And of all the games this weekend, this has got the biggest prediction as far as spread, as the Cowboys are favored at 13.5 points. Like, come on, bruh. Like,
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, no, to the no, no.
I guess I'm just going to chalk this up for the Commanders. Hey, you know it. And I know it. It's happening. The Cowboys are going to beat this Commanders team, even if they sit a good portion of their starters for this game, because they don't really need to play them because they already know they're going to make the playoffs and make some noise. 6 says it's going to be at Vicala versus Drew Willingham in the Battle of the Bands. Yes, it could be for the situation as the Cowboys take on the Commanders. The Cowgirls is at the Commies. Yes. Absolutely. We've already established that. Definitely very much the Cowgirls are traveling to FedEx Field to take on the Commanders. Favored by 13.5 points. I see it happening. I see the Cowboys winning this game, even though Sam Howell played the final game of last year's schedule and won against the Cowboys. It's the same situation this year with the Cowboys playing the Commanders on the last day of the season. However, 2 totally different teams are playing each other this year. The Commanders have regressed, and the Cowboys have severely progressed in the past year. The only thing that they don't have is they don't have Trayvon Diggs, which has been a sad situation for them to not have. But the success that the Cowboys are having without him, speaks volumes to how strong of a team that this is, and definitely going to be something to look for in the playoffs.
Who's giving them the business?
So with that being said, guys, we've gone through our 2-minute drill. We now have to take this into the post game.
Total football talk.
As long as it's one. It's great. I love it. I hope it actually has recording. Listening to it.
And here with the post game, I'm about to get real animated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably sitting over there saying,
What?
But I'm going to say
Yeah. Yeah.
So, on this show, we talk a lot about the NFL. And soon we'll be talking about the XFL. And then we'll be talking about the CFL. Okay?
All right. Move this back.
Cole is back.
Good meetings.
So Cole is back as we are about to end the show. Perfect timing. So, just because, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give us the transition one more time.
Total football talk.
As long as it's one. It's great. I love it. I hope it actually has recording. Listening to it.
Now, to switch things up for this week, and this week only, Cole, for the post game, I want you to go first, and I want to have the last word because I have got a fire, an absolute fire that you lit under me the other day that I'm going to bring onto this right here that you've been intrigued for, but I'm going to make you wait because I want to end the show with this. So you come on in, give your post-game take, and I will finish it with what you're intrigued for.
All right. I'll take that. All right. Well, again, this is great. Again, wonderful show, although I was only part of one segment of it. And I thank all of you who watch, and I thank all of you who participate as well. We totally appreciate everything that y'all do. But a little bit of business before I do get onto my takes. Look, my dog of the week would be heck, I'll give it to CeeDee Lamb. Why not? Good job with you doing what you did. You became now the single season holder for most passing yards and most receiving yards and most receptions. So kudos to you, CD. The snowflake of week, Mr. David Tepper, you deserve it, sir. Stop acting like a clown and tossing stuff allegedly on fans, dummy. Goodness gracious,
Mick dummy.
Yeah, Mick dummy. I was like, just own the Panthers. Just understand that you have taken charge of a moribund franchise, and you're helping it to stay moribund, and just be happy with that, dummy. All right. Now for my my post game, I look out at the NFL this past year, and there's been some people who have said that this season has been a minus in terms of play and in terms of fundamentals. I push back on that, and I push back on that because you're now starting to see athletes out here who are doing the darn thing. I mean, it's to the point where I think we're taking it all for granted. Look, I just out of a work meeting that I had with one of my staff members. We were talking about fantasy football, and he mentioned Amari Cooper, and then he mentioned Joe Flacco, and he actually said the word. I can't believe the words he actually said, but he actually said in 2020, well, in 2024, but for the 2023 season, he actually said, "quote the fantasy darling Joe Flacco," close quote. So you now have a 38-year-old who is shining bright. And I don't know if you can say that. And it's because of his presence, this team is now going to be in the playoffs, and it's one of the most dangerous teams out of the 14 that is going to be to face starting wildcard round. So I think we're taking these athletes for granted, and we're taking the game for granted. And it's unfortunate because this is a good game. And there's good caretakers, and I think we're now getting to the point where now the changing of the guard has finished, and I think it has now matured to the point where, okay, so the next crop that that was beforehand, it was Manning, it was Peyton and Eli and Brady. And before them, it was the end of Elway, the end of Marino, and then in the 80s, it was the beginning of Marino and Elway, and Montana, and of course in the 90s it was Young too. So we're seeing the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes. You have the mixtures of those two and Lamar Jackson, and now the beginnings of it with Brock Purdy. You're seeing the game now shift to a whole different way of operating. Now, I'll admit this. I want to see more running in the game, and I think that has been something that has been missing. And I think if teams were to come back and utilize that, I would be happy. However, that's not been the case. But I will say this, though. We're now in week 18 of the 2023 season. This actually has been, to me, one of the best seasons that I have ever seen. And yeah, maybe part of it is the fact that I'm looking at a team of my own that's 9-7 that I did not think was going to win 9 games until next year, if then. But now they have won 9 games this year with a chance to win a 10th. And here is the real point of it all. Coming into week 17, you had 24 teams that had a shot to make the playoffs. 24. When you have that many markets that are in the running to have postseason play, you have excitement for the product all the way around. So out of 32 teams, if 24 have a chance to make it coming into week 17, I say the league is doing pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
So to those who think that the league has fallen off, that the league sucks, that the quality of the play is bad, Mike,
stop it. Get some help.
because that take, Chuck, tell them what that take is, man.
That's terrible.
Because quite frankly, with that talk, all you need to do is this.
We gotta pause that.
Oh, and take this. Now, for what I've been waiting for, my man Drew's post game. The floor is yours, my man.
So, you guys, this past weekend, we got some news. Well, Sunday, where we all know about last year, where the XFL and the USL, merged. The XFL taking on the USFL, and there was going to be a merger of some sort. You're going to keep some teams here. They're going to let go some teams there. And, my man Cole Johnson was one of the first people to hit me up about this. And, of course, we knew that something was going to take place at some point when it came to this merger right here. But, the 5 teams that they decided to keep from the XFL and the 3 teams from the USFL to now make the UFL are as follows. The DC Defenders, the Arlington Renegades, the Houston Roughnecks, the San Antonio Brahmas, the St. Louis Battlehawks, the Birmingham Stallions, the Memphis Showboats, and the Michigan Panthers. And Drew, people out there probably saying, Drew, you guys are primarily an NFL show. Why are you talking about XFL, USFL? Well, if you sit and watch this from beginning to end, you will see in this awesome intro and outro that Cole Johnson has made, and we have the XFL in there. Well, that was before this whole merger. I'm sure at some point we will update that to say the stupid UFL logo. And I say stupid because I don't like what the U stands for. You have the United States Football League. Okay. Now you just remove the states and you have the United Football League? What kind of lazy merger is that? What you should have done is you should have made it the Ultimate Football League, because to me, that sounds a lot cooler. The Ultimate Football League. Okay? And then, you have the mother-fathering Super Bowl for the NFL. You could have the Ultimate Showdown for the championship game. Give me a job, because I'm smart. I can think of some ideas for this league right here, The Rock. Now, when you think about the fact that you got 8 teams for this UFL, 3 of them are in Texas.
That's right.
Yet, why? Why is that? Because you have other teams that you could have kept. Like the Orlando Guardians you could have kept. That's one team. Kyle Nash is upset probably because it's one less team he gets to cover. And you did that so you could keep the Brahmas? Oh, we know why you kept the Brahmas, because you were the Brahma Bull back in the day for WWF, and you want to do this and say if you smell when they get a victory in a championship eventually. That's probably what you want to do. And yes, Mick, I am smart. So back to this. It comes to this situation right here. Did y'all think I was done yet? Well, I have not done bringing the fire yet, because the saddest part about this situation right here, and Cole's going to love it when I say this too.
Okay.
The saddest part about this situation. You got 8 teams. NFL has 32 teams.
That's right.
The NFL has 31 teams with decent names. They got one. They got one team that's absolutely terrible. And that being the Commanders. The sad part is this team is got a worse name than this new UFL league that has a great name in the DC Defenders. How do you have a team that's right along the Beltway, not that far from you, that not only has a great name, but they have a great character as well, being the beer snake? They've got a beer snake they don't have that for the Commanders. Why? Because they're not smart. They don't have what it takes to come up with the creative processes in mind. Because when you watched the XFL last year, It's very similar to watch, in my opinion, because I'm a wrestling fan. Cole is too, and we know about the history of it. When it comes to this, watching the XFL last year reminded me of a lot of watching a WWE live event as football because of the entertainment around it. I hope they keep that aspect of as part of this UFL merger. But at the same time, I want them to keep the beer snake in DC. Okay. But I also want this DC Defenders team in the UFL to inspire the Commanders in the NFL to come up with a better name. Because I would love to have my weekly podcast have a better name for it. And I'm sure my man J. Cool would not mind getting back in the studio and ripping some tracks down with a better name for his team to get more passionate about. Because it's even got so bad watching this team this year, he didn't even want to hear his own song anymore.
Doggone.
So, looking at this situation right here, DC Defenders, you guys need to inspire your other league across town to come up with a better name. UFL, you need to do a better job in switching what that U stands for into ultimate, okay? And the championship game needs to be the ultimate showdown. And with my last part of my take, I want to give a shout out to those of you in the chat. Mickey Delaney, also to Sick Diggy. Those two of you primarily who have been sticking with me throughout the majority of this past hour and a half while Cole was tending to some meetings and stuff, as it was just me. But it flowed along pretty well. I had a lot of fun here in the comments. There's no other show where I will sit down in this office for 3 hours and talk but this one. And there's not many shows except for the Commander's Gridiron Report where I will sit there alone and talk for an hour to an hour and a half. But today's flow went really well. A lot of that goes along with the preparation that my man Cole did with setting the show up. A lot of this goes with the people that we have here in the comments. They're saying the things that spin the gears up the top of my head to get me to say some of the wild stuff that comes out of my mouth. But at the same time, we were able to break down the remainder of last week's stuff and talk about the preparation and stuff for this upcoming week's games. And I couldn't do that without the people here in the comments. So thank you very much for keeping things flowing for me. I greatly appreciate it. I usually don't like doing that, but at the same time, you made it so much easier today and so much more fun than what it would have been if it was just me talking with no comments from you guys. I appreciate you with the predictions for your games. And even though people want to give me a hard time out here about me making the smart comment in the comments right now, I still have love for all of you because you know what? Let's take it another direction real quick before we get on out of here.
Let me talk to you.
Because now you guys want to give me a hard time and insult my intelligence.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no, no.
Hey, the Commanders didn't hire me for a front office job, okay? They didn't hire me to be a part of their marketing department, okay? But that breaking news is this. Commanders, I'm available for interviews.
Lord.
So if you would like to talk about potential opportunities, even though Mick is over here talking about he flowed like crap, you wouldn't know you weren't here half the damn time. He was mainly Sick Dicky that was keeping up with me in the comments. Mick posted all of his pics for the next week, and then he went to yoga class or something, and then came back because he's always got a class he's got to disappear for. Mick, you went to yoga. So I bet the crap really flowed out of you during yoga. So, it comes to that. You would talk some shade. Yeah, you're right. Mr. Disrespectful's back in the house there. Because you come on here and you soil on me and my takes. I'm going to pull a Matt Hardy and do this.
Delete.
Because
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
now you can sit back.
Oh my gosh.
And you can say this.
Now, that is absurd.
Or
That's terrible.
But all I'm going to do is look at you and say this, Mickey Delaney.
Stop it. Get some help.
Look at what you've done now, Mick. Look at where we are at. We have gone from one section to another. And before I wrap this up with a bow, Sick, I encourage it wholeheartedly. I flat out encourage it. You have got my endorsement on that. But in all seriousness, guys.
Mick with another Build-A-Bear reference.
In all seriousness, though, guys, this is definitely another fun one. This has been a fun season, despite watching my team. Okay, but watching overall, I think this show right here was one of the greatest things to happen for both of us. Me, in particularly, because of the team that I cover and watch. Because if all I was doing was watching primarily Commanders games and covering that, I think I would have lost my mind with this season. So shout out to Cole for making this happen, for us collaborating together and 50-50 putting this thing together as far as our energy and things that we do during the show. But if it wasn't for what he did to prepare for the show to actually be on the air, this would not be what it was, and the people make it what it is. So starting off the new year, I know we got another 51 weeks to go for the rest of this year, but I'm looking forward to it and breaking down football across several different leagues with my man Cole Johnson in this studio action.
Oh yeah, definitely. I look forward to it as well. And good job. Yeah, that was good.
The ultimate showdown.
I love that. The ultimate showdown. That would be great. Big game name. Oh my gosh. Just the Mrs. Disrespectful, the Build-A-Bear. Oh Lord.
I'm gonna I got a green screen too. I just gotta find time to put it up and set the lights up and everything. But you know what? This is gonna inspire me at some point in the near future. I'm gonna have to do it. Set up the green screen. I'm gonna have to bring down the world championship belt, do a promo, send it to The Rock. Send a promo and include the ultimate showdown in there and talk about the UFL, and maybe with the championship belt, the energy. They might have a position for myself over there in the UFL to help them out with creative. And I'm going to have to bring Cole Johnson along with me. There's some goals for 2024. Slim chances, but you got to have a drink.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Oh, my gosh. Mr. Disrespectful, Build-A-Bear reference. Oh, my gosh.
Wait, you do have a comment. There's a spaghetti Western reference there regarding an ultimate showdown.
This was a spaghetti Western reference regarding ultimate show. Lord have mercy.
Tumbleweed blowing across our stream.
Goodness gracious.
As long as it's one. It's great. I love it. I hope it actually is recording. Listening to it.
Wow. So this show had everything, including the post game going off the rails. Okay.
I did miss one commercial break. Which one was it? I did everything right. I was proud of myself. It was 3A was the one that I forgot.
Okay, so between featured attractions and chopping block. Okay.
Yeah, I just went from featured attractions straight into chopping block, and when I did it, I just figured I was like, well, oh well. I was like, if we don't go 3 hours, and then we was having so much fun with people in the comments that we ended up making it 3 hours.
Yep.
So it still worked out, man.
Yeah, it did. It did. Go ahead, Mickey. Make my day, Lord. Okay.
Oh wow! Did you see it before, Sick Nigga? I would beat you like a redhead stepchild. Wise El Jefe, you have the audacity to call me Mr. Disrespectful? In my 6 years of working in the media, okay? When have I ever threatened violence or bodily harm to another individual. And you, Wise El Jefe, and Cole know about how much we were all tested in 2023. Okay.
Yeah.
Did I ever threaten violence? No. The most disrespectful thing will just be the words that come out of my mouth at times when I've had enough. Okay. Am I going to come after you with violence? Are we going to have some? Am I going to have to go bust a 9 in somebody? No, I'm not going to do that. Okay. I got a 9, but I'm not going to threaten violence with it. It's only for protection. Okay. Protection from the crazies that are trying to break into the home, which never happens in this neighborhood. Hardly will. I mean, knock with some wood somewhere. Okay. Because, yes, we have gone off the rails, but you want to call me Mr. Disrespectful? And look at what this just said. Redhead stepchild. And you said my Giants are good 1-7, but
that's the
violence.
But that's the only reason why he says Mr. Disrespectful, because he thought his Giants was going to do better, and they went out to a 1-5 start. I mean,
I was only wrong by 2 weeks, and you would call that Mr. Disrespectful? You need to call that Mr. Almost got his picks right.
Lord.
I hug you like my own
old
child.
and then discipline you like Joe Jackson.
This is what I need. This is what I need, a short clip of Michael Jackson backwards going.
Oh, moonwalking.
Beat it. Yeah, beat it. Yeah.
Makes that stuck in your head, talking about why stay in your lane and I'll beat you like a redheaded stepchild as well. Oh, Lord. And why says, thank God for the Commanders. And Mick, I feel for you, Mick.
You got
not wise.
Mick.
I feel for you, Mick.
You got Mick saying he's going to beat you like a stepchild, and you're still coming at me after the Commanders? I was trying to stick up for you. What are you talking about out here on these streams?
Stop it. Get some help.
But the thing I loved about Wise at that time, the morning, the afternoon of the first game between the Commanders and the Giants. No. It was the morning after. He says, "Man, it is good to be a 2-5 team." I'm like, why are you bragging that hard? I know where it's going, but why would you brag that hard about that?
Yeah, I mean, I can look back on it and laugh now, but at that time of the year, back then, at the time of the season back then, the Commanders were still looking like a pretty good football team, and the Giants were not. So I was wrong in my predictions. I mean, I've said it during this show at some point, and I've said it during other shows. We're all wrong at some point. We're never perfect. We're all going to make mistakes and calls. But I was pretty close to being spot on there, Wise El Jefe. And that first game with the Giants was much closer than the second one. Okay. So, hey, I think you need to get in the car with whatchamacallit, with Sick Diggy and Build-A-Bear over there, Teddy Bear, Mickey Delaney, and go to Build-A-Bear and build bears together.
Oh, Lord. To find Drew on all social media platforms, you can go to Sotoba_media on X, or the _Sotoba at TikTok, or Sotoba Media on YouTube. Oh my gosh.
I need to get on that flow code. Guys, help me.
If you're going to find me, all you have to do is go to flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. It's flowcode.com /page/host Cole Johnson. Oh my gosh. How in the world does the end go off the rails so hard?
We're trying to start the first episode of the new year off with a bang, man. I think we did that.
Yeah.
I think we did. And even LA Night agreed.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to hear these words.
Yeah.
Just trying to live up to the hype, bro.
Well, we'll be seeing this one.
Yeah.
Probably a lot on the next episode.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to talking about one of them. Yes, I sure am.
And I think we're going to be talking about one of them where we will operate with Vince saying you're fired to him. Yeah, I don't think you have to guess as to who Mr. Willingham is happy about. And get receiving the "you're fired" or the pink slip.
Before we go, you know what I'm most happiest about today?
You're happiest about what?
Not about that comment.
Well, I know it's not that, but
what I'm happiest about is we went an entire 3 hours without watching one transition. Please don't play it. Please don't play it. I think we're starting the new year off right by not watching this. And we have no reason to watch it this week. But the best part is we haven't had to watch it this week.
Oh, Lord. Sig says, Cole almost quoted Zach Ryder. Woo, woo, woo. You know it. Ari's ready. Don't want to do that no more. But yeah. Yeah. But God bless you, Matt Cardona. Keep doing your thing in the Indies, bro. Let me see. I'm not going to play it. I don't really have room to play it. But of course, if I did, this would have to accompany it afterwards.
Delete!
I could watch that the entire episode. Okay. But you play that other one, I'm going to lose my mind 1 hour before I have to go to work. And I really don't want to have to do that.
One of the greatest compliments I received that really wasn't a compliment at all, but I took it as such, was Wise one time after the show wrapped. And we were talking, and I think we were actually talking about the upcoming Mentality episode. And he says, "Gosh, I can't stand you, man." I was like, "Why? Why?" I was like, "Why would you say something like that, man?" He says, "That doggone," of course, he didn't say doggone. He says, "That doggone Cowboys commercial." I mean, the doggone Cowboys element. Oh my gosh. I look, we love you guys. You all are awesome. You all are lifeblood to this show. So look, thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing, hitting the notification bell. Thank you for the comments too, and thank you for the love that we receive and saying this is a good show. Continue to do it, and thank you for hitting the notification bell so you can catch any and all content that emanates from the wonderful Sertoba Media channel on YouTube or the Comey Media YouTube channel as well. We appreciate you. For Drew Willingham, I am Cole Johnson, and thank you, Drew, for being the point man in this episode. I totally appreciate you too, personally. Before Drew, I am Cole, and as always, here I will say in parting, as we always do. In life, just like a tackle, keep your head up. And always remember, you got to play until the whistle blows.
And don't forget, stay safe out here in these streets.
Mick says you already lost your mind, Drew, by liking the Commanders. And I think I have lost my mind in just listening to the last 20 minutes of this. Goodness gracious. I love you guys.
I was doing the best I could to stay safe out here in these streets till that comment.
We'll see you next week as we wrap up week 18 of the NFL season and begin the march to the Lombardi Trophy. Oh my gosh. See you guys next week.